Peter says for third meeting of called to order. Get a roll call.
Commissioner Bailey.
Here.
Commissioner Bunting. Present. Commissioner Gay.
Here.
Commissioner Sapsy.
Here.
Commissioner Owens.
Here. George, you feeling holy tonight?
Yes, please. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the day that you've given to us and the blessings in it. We pray tonight for our special responders and our servicemen, those here and abroad, Father, give them safety, put blessings upon them. We ask, Father, you be with us through this deliberation tonight for the people of Gratiot County. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Join us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have one addition to the agenda.
It's actually, if we could just move the unfinished business up to J2 so that we can have it all combined with J1. So that you can stay on focus.
Say that again. Okay, unfinished business.
Unfinished business.
J1, right?
Other side of the
J2.
page, Dan.
We'll put it right under. Because they're the same type.
Page.
Unfinished business. J.
Move the agenda.
Agenda is moved by George, supported by Tim. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Brief public comment. Oh, before we go. 74 years ago this morning, Ma and Pa Owens had the first of 9 children, so. Have a cupcake if you're so inclined.
Happy birthday.
Let's sing happy birthday, you
Yeah.
guys.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear David. Happy birthday to you. Are you one?
You didn't hear me. I said, oh man, Dave.
Thank you.
No, you're still young.
Any additional public comment?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sheila. I've met you all before. You know why I'm here. I had something else prepared, but I'm kind of thinking that maybe I'm going to go off script just a little bit because I was able to attend a renewable energy and energy storage siting meeting with Lansing today via Zoom meeting. Actually, it was Microsoft Teams. Anyways, I was listening. I didn't get to go through the whole thing to get to the public comments. Darn it. It's my favorite thing to do. But anyways, I was very disgusted about the amount of money being thrown around for townships, counties, and landowners. In my opinion, it just feels like bribes to me. The amount of money that they're throwing around to get us, to get you to say yes to solar in your community. I was disgusted at their attempts to talk about how to circumvent township and county ordinances. I was disgusted at their attempts to circumvent public speaking hearings. They want to start projects right away. That was what I got out of part of it anyway. They talked about their due diligence in working with leaseholders and giving them a say-so. The one example that I can give to you, which of course coming from me is just hearsay. So it's just something that I had heard about a couple that was offered a lease. They wanted some stipulations and the company said it's all or nothing. So that kind of contradicts what I heard today. The public hearing was recorded. I think maybe you can all go back and look at it if you're interested. There was no mention of protections for non-participating property owners unless it was brought up in the public comments. It wasn't anything that I had heard. As you know, I've been speaking at both here in and Isabella County. And I've been told by more than one person, I'm afraid what you are saying is falling on deaf ears. Why is that? Why would anyone's concerns and comments about the misuse of farmland fall on deaf ears? A good friend of mine told me to follow the money. Put a carrot dangling at the end of a stick, be the reason my words are falling on deaf ears. This is not just about solar panels on farmland in our community. This is all over the world, and there's a big push for it in the United States, and you have to open your eyes and see who is holding the stick. I think many of you know who really is in control, but who is willing to say it out loud. I believe the carrot represents power, reputation, and money, grants, kickbacks, subsidies. The sticks are the tools, the politicians, the lobbyists, the special interest groups. And the oppressors holding the stick, could they be the billionaires, the elites, their decrees? I don't know. Eventually taking crops out of the equation is going to be taking more than just money out of all of our pockets. I hope that you will see past that carrot being dangled in front of your eyes. Listen to the people. Don't let money be your motivation for having weak ordinances and allowing energy companies to come in and take control. There are more benefits to keeping the land, producing crops. Without them, businesses that rely on Mid-Michigan's agricultural commodities will suffer greatly. Companies such as Zealand Farm Services, Tractor Supply, Family Farm and Home, Ellen's Equipment, and other tractor suppliers, seed suppliers, grocers, and the list goes on. We will be all affected in one way or another. Someone told me last night that Isabella and Gratiot counties are doomed. Are we doomed because of the sacrifice of private land ownership to inefficient energy? Or that there's a possibility of the soil and groundwater being contaminated? Or that wildlife habitat is disturbed? Or that we will watch home values plummet? Could it be that we discover adverse health problems of people that live near the solar farms? Again, we have never seen the full life cycle of a solar farm. Obviously, I feel the need to be speaking out about this. I will be held accountable if I do nothing. I believe we will repeal this law that the governor enacted. There is no room for failure. If you haven't signed a petition, find someone. Show up at meetings and voice your concerns. If this governor wins, we will all be held accountable for allowing government overreach.
Yep.
Yes.
Did they mention anything about that? What you just mentioned at the end here about the signing the petitions, was that brought up in any way?
It's not brought up. There was not,
Who hosted this?
it was hosted by, it looks like the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs. This is the agenda.
So it was the state of Michigan.
Yes, the state of Michigan, yes. And so there was the MPSC was online, folks from EGLE.
It's Eagle, yeah.
And then there were a couple of experts from Invenergy. And then there was a whole list of a list of people. I believe you can find the agenda on there too, as well. But there was no mention of that if it got repealed, at least the part that I had heard, because it was nearing the end, but they had not come up.
To my knowledge, I mean, I joined the board at the very end of last year. There are no new proposed farms in this county, correct, right now? Only ones that have already been pre-approved.
You're just talking solar.
Solar.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean there is.
Wanted you to know,
Not aware of it.
at this point in time, the only solar farms that are on the books in Gratiot County they're already been pre-approved and they're in the process of someone. We drove by two of them yesterday. When we were on our way up the highway, you can see to the west of the highway. So to my knowledge, there's no new ones proposed. Part of it is this quagmire between the state getting this enactment of, it doesn't matter what the townships and the counties want, we're gonna do it where we want, which is, there is a concern. There's concern from landowners that don't want one on their property, but if you live by one of these main transmission lines, I heard it from my constituents, people who live in my townships, they're worried about that.
Yes,
They're worried about the fact that the state of Michigan can come in and say, it's gonna happen. And And that worries some of them. I mean, some of them are generational farms. They've been farming for years. They've got kids and grandkids that are tending the farm and here they are.
Yes, I heard a story of an 80-year-old woman that they were hounding her, some solar company out of Oklahoma. And finally, the children had to step in and say, look, if you keep harassing my mother, we're gonna file some litigation against you. And then they stopped calling. So, it is out there, but that doesn't negate the fact that there may be some people that have signed. It's just not out in the open yet.
Yeah, because I didn't know, all the ones that I was aware of, they've already started the projects. Everything is, there's dirt being moved and, you know, that.
Thank you for letting me know that.
That's just from what I know, and unless somebody else here has something that they've heard of, I don't know of any new. I haven't even heard of anybody being contacted by anybody since this new change, because I think there's a lot of people waiting to see what's gonna happen with this, if this is gonna be on the November ballot or not, so.
Hopefully so.
So,
Thank you.
because they need what, 300, we just heard about it yesterday, 325,000,
367,000.
67, okay.
Their goal is 300 or 550,000.
To make sure that, yeah, for,
Sheila, do you have any more petitions? I know somebody that wants some, and I don't know how to get any
I
of them.
do have some.
Do you have them with you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, if you want to let me have some, I'll make sure they get to the right person.
Okay, moving on to the consent calendar. Oh, any more public comments?
Please, I'll make it sure.
Old guy in the back, young guy, pardon me.
So 41 years young, so. I was gonna start out, I was looking for red velvet cake on there on the cupcake list, but I didn't see that, so.
Oh, sorry, Joe.
No, it's all right. For those that don't know me, and I will just make a quick introduction. My name's Joe Vozar. I am running for sheriff in Gratiot County. And currently we're the jail administrator at the new lieutenant at the sheriff's office. My wife and I are born and raised in Ithaca. My wife's currently a principal at South Elementary, and my 4 kids attend Ithaca schools. And I started most of my career in Isabella County. Got a position through Sheriff Doug Wright when he was here in 2018. I was appointed as the jail administrator there, and ever since I've been there enjoying my position. So prayed about it and decided that it was time to want to go further. And I've been educating myself about what the sheriff actually does and what his position is, other than what I already maybe know through working through him. But we're there and we're ready. And so I just make it a quick introduction. I'm not going to do a lot of political things. I'm going to talk about what my agenda is right now. You're going to see my face quite often here. You'll see my face around, and the townships are seeing my face already. So that's all I got for you right now. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Dave?
David Justin, Second Precinct, Alma. Just want to follow up on my conversation last meeting and kind of reacting to what Commissioner Bunning said. First off, I was curious about the previous allegations, and Commissioner Bunning didn't seem to have any recollection that those were made. But then I got to thinking about this concern that we're not getting the tax money. And she says she's going to make a report, and I'm curious. I mean, she started making these comments before the 2022 election. So it seems like by now he should be able to get to the bottom of what's going on. So I guess I'm concerned that if this kind of stuff is happening, why aren't we addressing it and making sure that it's taken care of? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we'll move on to the consent calendar.
Consent calendar.
But George, support by Steve to consider the consent calendar. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay. Administrators report.
We have a pretty lengthy agenda today. A lot of our work that we have been working on the last couple of weeks is going to start to materialize, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. But a few things around the courthouse. We're currently recruiting park rangers for the 2024 Gratiot County Park season. And that'll be opening up once we get to the end of May. We haven't gotten very many resumes yet this year, so you could spread the word that we're still looking for rangers. We are paying $14 an hour. It is a part-time position. We do work with you as far as what your schedule will look like and what location we're at. One of the things that we are going to do is we are going to head over to the schools and try and do some direct recruitment of some of the seniors that might be graduating here right at the time that we're looking to hire some people. An update on our lawsuit, or lack of an update on our lawsuit. I know we spoke about the Constellation turbine depreciation lawsuit at the last meeting. They still have not responded back to our most recent discussions with them, so that's on hold. When we do get some information, I will share that with you. So hopefully any day now. Yesterday we held a department head meeting yesterday afternoon to start discussing the wage study. As much as it is important, it's important that our employees understand it too, and instead of being in the dark as to the conversations and the decisions that we're making here. So we started that process with our department heads yesterday. Last night, I attended the Elma Master Plan public meeting. David Justin was there also. The big theme, the big frustration with Elma and what they're looking for in their master plan that I got from the meeting is they feel like they continually put themselves in a good position to receive state and federal funding, particularly for development or economic purposes. They're always told that their grant proposals look really well put together, and they've done their prep work to get themselves where they need to be awarded these. Yet they always come up short in second or third place, particularly losing out to more urban areas for some of these grants. So that's going to be one of the main focuses for Elma and their master plan, is they're going to try and have their plan put in a way that may give them a little more of an edge when it comes to some of this grant information. This morning out at the Emergency Operations Center, Fred Harris, our emergency manager, hosted a tabletop exercise for an emergency. So that was the first that he has hosted out there. We're going to start meeting quarterly. I know you were probably busy with your birthday celebrations, but hopefully the chairman will be able to attend in the future for those.
What emergency did he go over today?
Today was a tornado disaster.
Yeah.
So it was the first one that I participated in. I do remember Tracy going through some of those out there. Then that she had the actual emergency declaration of the COVID.
I had one too few O's in my time. I went at 1 o'clock.
Oh,
So Fred and I were all have a good conversation.
well, you were briefed on the situation. That's the important thing. An interesting surprise phone call that I got this afternoon. I received a call from a family in Grand Rapids who were cleaning out a family member's home, and they came across a 1913 Tucker's Guide to Gratiot County History. So if you're familiar with that book, you'll know that it's difficult to get a hold of, and when you do find one, it's
Rare.
actually very expensive.
Very rare.
So I just wanted to get that out there in case Judge Bacher and Steve Bacher were listening, to let them know that they are going to mail that to me for free. So just completely
You
random.
could have copies made.
I think they redid it in 2013, so you can actually buy a, but that fits right in with, Mr. Bacher was looking to display some of his historical items here at the courthouse, and that would look really good in there also, so.
Any backstory on how on earth did their family migrate from here to Grand Rapids, or?
The lady that called me, it was her father's, and I believe he was from Ashley.
Oh, wow.
So
Excuse me.
just happened to be in his bookshelf, so.
Awesome.
And she was gonna mail it free of charge.
Perfect.
So we'll find some nice, something nice to send back to her for it.
Nice. Old Gratiot County swag.
Yeah. So, one of the first, projects that we're gonna be doing here around the courthouse, Tony Miller is rounding up some bids for the tree removal. We have, I believe there are 8 diseased trees on our campus, that either need to be trimmed back severely or pulled right out. We want to be able to, we want to get that done, and get some new trees planted here before we get into the heavy rains of April and May, so that they can get, their root systems gets a good jump start on the year. March 28th, which also happens to be Good Friday, we have, a half day here at the courthouse, just remind everybody. But we're also having an employee engagement, committee sponsored event in the morning between 9 and 10 a.m. in the break room down there. We're gonna have hot cocoa. Anybody is around and able to sit
March
there.
28th is Thursday.
29th, I apologize if I misspoke.
I'm about ready to say that's not the date.
And lastly,
Say 29.
29th.
In the morning.
Thanks.
And lastly,
Friday.
I will be off, next week with my family for spring break.
Good for you. Commissioners report, George?
Well, I took a whirlwind trip after I went to Florida. I went back to Florida with my family. It was a good day. It was a good time. I went with my son and his family for a week and just family stuff. It was good. Monday, the 11th, I attended the Hamilton Township board meeting. They were very busy. Had several different things on their plate. Obviously, they're talking about their new hall, and they had a lot of different things to talk about there as far as contractors and quotes, and half of their hall is filled full of kitchen cupboards and that type of thing. They also approved their budget for the 24-25 budget year. And that was about it. Commissioner Chairman Owens was there at the meeting just to come and check up on me. No. To see what's going on. And then after that, I went to North Star. North Star wasn't thinking about building a new hall, but they were thinking about taking some ARPA money and doing some different things. And one of the unique things they talked about was that North Star has several homes that really need to come down. And they're talking about taking some of that ARPA money and taking some of those homes right out of there, which is, I think, a good idea. And they're sprucing up around their hall and that kind of thing. So they have got the word that they've got to have some project, and it's got to be solidified by the end of the year, or they're going to lose their money. So, and I want to keep putting that out there. Anybody they've got money and they haven't done anything with it, please take care of it, because we don't want you to have to give your money back, and we don't have to want to take it back. So there's several different things there. And on the 14th, I had a GIN meeting, Integrated Mental Health meeting, and we get a lot of different reports that they bring staff in and they talk to us about the different things they do. And one of the things that they've been trying to get off the ground for quite a while now is a reaction team. And a reaction team would be called in if there is an emergency. They go 24/7. And the hardest thing been having is that they were doing it on a round robin rotation basis. And a lot of the people that were involved in that were getting tired. Well, they've worked diligently for the last year and they've actually got now their own dedicated team to do that. So now then it takes pressure off the staff. So they've got a dedicated reactionary team to any crisis of the mental health. And if they're called out, they can go at 24/7. So I thought that was really a good accomplishment. And let's see, that about does it.
Tim?
I went to the Emerson Township meeting. The Board of Review ordered flags for Memorial Day weekend to put on the graves. They have two cemeteries in Emerson Township. And they're losing their guy that mows the cemetery. So they gotta hire someone to do that. Joe Bozer was there introducing himself. And anyway, so that's for Emerson. I went to the Elma City Commission and they talked about, they have a tree project where they're gonna take down the trees, I guess, in the city. They've been there for a few years now and remove them and plant new ones. The librarian, Elma librarian was there and she got a grant to digitalize copies of the Gratiot County Herald from 1899 to 1908. So that's a little bit of history. I think history answers a lot of things, why we are the way we are. An Eagle Scout, a girl, made a box to retire old flags, and that's what we put in the library. There's an Alma Tigers special ed basketball team that plays at Calvin College. April 1st is the yard waste pickup, and that'll be a big deal. Okay, so then I went to Arcata Town, you know? They talked a lot about Fire Island. They get a lot of revenue from them. Doug Merchant said that if he knew how things were gonna go, he would have permitted Fire Island to be in business sooner because there's been no really bad reports from them. Hey, you probably don't know what Fire Island is.
I think most from around Gratiot County know what it is, but
They sell marijuana, recreational marijuana. Yeah. Well, it's a big thing. Fire Island wants to sell crafts like in the parking lot at various times in the summer, weekends, and things like that. They can't consume in the store. Oh, but I hope I get this right. They can consume outdoors. But and they want a new sign too. So they said that this early voting, I guess there's 130 people early vote
That's how many we had during the 9 days.
during the 9 days.
For
We spent 16,000.
on that.
The average early voting is gonna cost the townships and city about 16,000. But the bill for the early voting for the presidential primary came to about 48,000.
How much did you say?
48,000, but that's not just early voting. That's all the ballots. That was the presidential.
Well, they talked about what a bad idea that was. And, North Shade didn't have any voters. But they're west towards Carson City.
That is the
So,
only.
so they had to travel clear to Ithaca to do that. So, and then yesterday, Steve was very kind to allow us to, travel to Roscommon, to the northern Michigan counties. A guy from Consumers Energy talked about hydroelectric power. It represents 1% of the total power for consumers. So it's not very much. There's 13 active dams in the hydroelectric that they use now. And ironic, 6 of them are on the Osamo River. But the guy said they want to sell them. Hopefully all together. But maybe by piecemeal too, but all together. So I guess they want to really get out of that hydroelectric.
That's it.
For me.
Steve?
Okay, on March the 14th, I was at the Employee Engagement Committee meeting here in the courthouse. You mentioned the next thing that's coming up is the thing on Good Friday on March 29th. Suggested different ideas that came up. There's several things that they're working on to try and just encourage. I mean, several of you have been to the Super Bowl and the chili cook-off and those, but they have the hot cocoa, they've had coffee and donuts, things to deal with are about like you support your favorite team. When it was the football national championship, they're going to do something similar for March Madness. When the finals happen in April, March Madness that happens in April. But anyhow, they're doing a lot of really cool things. And I personally was part of the board or part of that group before I became a commissioner. Unfortunately, just like any other thing, it takes money to do that. They get some funding from the board, and I hope when it comes time to look at that, that maybe we can help this committee out a little bit more with a little, they do fundraising on all these events. A lot of times they'll do a 50-50, or some of the money stays for the next or future events. And some of it they donate to a needy cause, which is wonderful. But I really think that we need to explore as a commissioners, maybe funding it just a little bit better, because they do a lot of good things. And I hear a lot of good from people who do take the time to actually participate in them. Not all your employees participate, but I don't think you're going to do anything. You could hand out crisp $100 bills, and I don't think some people would walk down there to get one. So that's just the way they are, and that's their personality, and that's totally fine. So, but anything we can do to make being an employee of Gratiot County a better experience, I think is a wonderful thing, and they're doing a great job. I'm humbled every time I go there, the energy, new people joining the committee because they are so like excited about it. I think it's awesome. So, and they've really done a fantastic job of going to our satellite. This is the primary building for the county, but they make sure stuff goes to the sheriff's office, 911, drain commission, missing somebody. Animal control, yes, Commission on Aging. They do a great job of trying to make sure they get out to all these other locations. And I think that it's making a difference because I'm hearing positive feedback from people. Some people don't like everything, that's fine. But I mean, keep up the great work because you're doing a good job. After that meeting, I stopped out and seen our newest Parks Director, John Rayburn. It was his day 3, I think, or 4, right? No, 3. Day 3 of his job. So it was pouring rain. So he was sitting inside the office, working on things that he could work on. His first meeting that he'll be kind of running is coming up here. So it'll be interesting to see him work his way through that process of running a meeting. That's, I think, one of the job duties that maybe was at the top on his list of things to do, like most people, but he'll do a great job of it. Like Tim said, we traveled up to the northern Michigan counties. If anybody isn't familiar, that group is 34 counties. Basically, if you draw a line across our southern border, Gratiot County, Montcalm, Saginaw, and go north to the bridge, that's who we are. And Tim is right. The first speaker we had really was from Consumers Energy. March 15th closed their RFPs for people to submit. He didn't know the exact number, but they had like 50 inquiries about purchasing those dams. So there was a number of inquiries, but he did not know exactly how many they got. Now they got to start the vetting process. He talked about that Consumers really kind of has four opposite options to do with these dams. Number one would be to decommission them all and return them back to the river. Some of these northern counties, as he said, there's 6 along the Au River. You're talking about a huge section of our northern counties that rely crazily on the money and the resources that come in from the recreation alone, just the recreation, but the houses that are built around there, their tax base are, a lot of it is designed around this huge body of water. What they say, consumers own somewhere between 40 and 60 miles of shoreline just from one of those dams. So that's just one of them. So if you can imagine that amplified as you go down those rivers, and all the other properties that are there, it's a really big deal. One is to relicense. Their license expires in 2034, but it's quite a process because when you get a relicense, it's for 50 years. Is it three dams they're working on this year, whether they sell them or not, they're putting $1 billion into 3 different dams.
At first, I thought they were building new dams,
Yeah.
but then, no.
It was 3 that they're actually putting $1 billion into 3 of these dams. And basically it's just to keep them safe. They're not gonna, they spent, I forgot how many billion they said on the one in Ludington, and it only up to kilowatts. The problem with the water is, it is what it is. It's a steady source. They got to keep these mill ponds within a certain range, or whether that however much water's coming in, and it can only generate so much electricity. The same electricity they generated in 1911 when they built a lot of these things, and everything came in on a train and they moved it in there with a horse. They've revamped some of them and they get maybe a half a megawatt more out of them. There's just only so much they can do with them.
Early in the 20th century, it used to be a really big.
This was the big deal. In fact, Consumers has records, nationwide records on how far they've sent hydroelectricity to Flint and different major cities from those northern dams. That are still records today. Their third was working with an eventual owner to keep the dams in place and keep them from a recreational standpoint, whether they continue to generate electricity or not. And the fourth was to divest, sale of these facilities to someone for power generation, and then whether or not somebody would buy the power from them, from these generations. If you are interested in more, there's a Consumers Hydro Future website that you can go and read about whatever you want to know about that. Our leader of the pack, John, I always mess up his last name, but like,
I think it's Arnheim.
Arnheim, is retiring from MSU. His official retirement date is, he's done in his office. His retirement party is the 22nd, and his official retirement date is April 1st. So they are going to be beginning the process. This guy's been the head of this since the beginning of the northern Michigan county. So it's going to take somebody, he's agreed to come back and work on a contractual basis to get the next person up to speed, because it's going to take some time for them to understand what this what this group does. We will be receiving a bill. They're gonna mail them out, I think, the first April for the dues. They collect dues every 2 years. And we elected or agreed that they don't need to individualize an invoice for every single one of these 34 counties, that they're just gonna send a generic invoice for the northern Michigan counties to each one of the counties instead of creating an individual invoice for each one. And no one objected to that. MAC conference, anybody here that wants, registration is open. And the reason we're not having a meeting, in April is the MAC conference is April 29th through May 1st in the Lansing Center. So anybody who's
April
interested
29th through what?
through May 1st. I hope I'm planting corn then, so I won't be going to the MAC conference in the spring. They are, let's see, we had the state court, was there, trial court, or excuse me, the two MAC reps from the Michigan Association of Counties were there. And they were talking about the trial court. This is going to affect us because there's a sunset provision. The vote possibly was today, and I haven't heard anything about it, but if that goes down, it's going to cost the trial court system and throughout the state of Michigan $1 million a week. They will lose from this provision, and where that funding will come from, I don't know. But that's something that's very concerning to them. There's two different like camps. One that just wants to reenact or renew this sunset provision, one who wants to change it. But it's going to be something that for us to watch, because it could end up becoming an expense for the county that we haven't been used to paying because they've had the sunset provision for a long time. They strongly encouraged all of us to sign a petition. If you haven't, sign one of these petitions to stop or to get on the ballot for us to retain local control, townships and counties to retain control because of this, because of the ability of the state to come in and say, Gratiot County, you've got main transmission lines. This is where we're gonna put solar farms. Come hell or high water. It's kind of I'll tell you, this group is fighting that. They want the counties to retain control of their ability. They're like, get your cell phone numbers to your House of Reps and call them. They encouraged all of us to make those phone calls. Another big thing they're talking about is Medicaid for our inmates. Right now, as soon as you become an inmate at the jail or a prison, your Medicaid ends. They're trying to they're working on some legislation that would, I think it's 60 days prior to their release. So if they're sentenced, it would open up us to be able to, so the counties didn't have to bear the burden of all their medical expenses. Medicaid would pick that up until 60 days prior to release. So, which is kind of a big deal. Citizens for Local Choices. Some counties there have a county resolution opposing this. They're not sure if it will help in the process if you get this on the ballot, but there's counties, and I thought I'd bring it up, see if it's something we're interested in doing. I was sitting right next to the guy who was talking about it, so it's right in my ear. Talked about the septic code. That was one of the representatives was talking about there. If you haven't heard, there's George and I hear about it every single month at the health department. There is some concern about our septic system. Dave and I heard about it yesterday again at the watershed, because some of the septic systems are failing. Some of them don't have a septic system at all. They're just direct dump into ditches and creeks and that sort of thing. So they are coming, the state is trying to come up with, but it keeps failing because they would like to see a mandated every 5 years, every septic system within your jurisdiction would have to be inspected by a certified inspector. George found out that would take out of that would be handled by the health department. And for the 3 counties, Gratiot, Montcalm, and Clinton County, they would have to hire, just due to the number of properties, it would take at least 15 staff members to do that. There's no funding for it.
Basically double our budget.
Yeah, it would.
Just to do the septic tank.
Just to do the septic field. So, there's some real, I think they'll come to some sort of a resolution. A lot of talk on point of sale is kind of a unique time to do it. Houses for sale, inspect the septic system. It's got to be taken care of at that point in time, because otherwise Carrie will be a very busy person with, the speculation is a lot of property owners will not be able to afford the systems that would be approved at their property now. You're talking $25,000-$30,000 to put in these raised systems. People would not be able to afford them. Therefore, they would just quit paying their taxes and they would come back to be the county's responsibility, which then we would have to pay to put in this system prior to being able to even auction the thing off. So
You're talking about people that do not have that system.
yeah, they want to, even if you have the system, you're gonna have to have it inspected every 5 years. So
The ones that they put in 20 years ago, they inspect those every year and they charge them $100 each time they come out.
this is something above and beyond that. This
Okay.
is gonna be a thing that they're gonna have to inspect above and beyond that.
Okay.
And then the Open Meetings Act was discussed. Because you remember during the pandemic, you were able to Zoom in. Like when you were sick, you were in Florida, back then you'd have been able to Zoom in and be a participant in it. You weren't able to do that. You can't do that by law. There's some talk that they're gonna probably change that. Board of Commissioners probably would still be required to meet in person. However, some of your townships and committees, you would be able to Zoom into and not have to physically attend every single meeting that you go to. So that was the discussions beyond the hydroelectric. Then I came back with Dave. We met at the Upper Pine River watershed. So not the entire Pine River, it just kind of affects the northwest area of Gratiot County, my 2 townships, the book that comes into New Haven and to Newark, or Newark's water goes, part of the northern part of Newark's water flows into it. New Haven, the river actually comes into their township. A lot of concern. There was a study done in 2019 with a 10-year plan of all these things. The pandemic happened. This kind of slid off the table of being done and dealt with. So now NRCS is really trying to spearhead this thing so that maybe we can get some funding to help with some of the projects and things that need to happen. The hottest spot coming in, the river tests hot for several things in Gratiot County, but the hottest spot is actually where the river comes into our county from Montcalm. So we dealt when the whole Riverdale septic system thing was dealt with, majorly improved. A lot of the big, large animal housing operations have done a lot to help reduce the amount of runoff and things that are coming into it. So not that we're perfect in Gratiot County, but we've made a lot of headway. There's a lot of talk. Bernie was at the first meeting on this. The drain commissioner, some simple things that could be done, just some narrow filter strips on most all of your ag land and along your roads would drastically improve our runoff and the sediments that are getting into the river and causing the hot spots that we do have. So do you have anything Because when you get to your chance, you can
Okay,
tell any more that we found out, but that's mine. And then North Shade, I did not go to the meeting last night after I got home all day of being at meetings. I contacted the township supervisor and he said that there really wasn't a whole lot of the thing for them to discuss other than they had a finance meeting. So I elected to not go, and so I miss Joe being there.
Jan, what do you have?
Well, I went to Bethany Township for a meeting and, just basically, just kind of getting into the new year, getting ready for farming and, talked a little bit about some of the things that are being passed, such as the, solar farms, and they have already got their plan. It's done. They were decided where they're gonna put one. And they did it quickly because they did not want to get caught up underneath the state and what they would make them do. So, that's in a progress right now. Or soon to be, and they also put in a new bridge. They've had bridges that have been really bad since I became on the board 24 years ago. And so one of them had been fixed. They have one more left to do, and they'll have all their bridges fixed, or the road bridges. So they were glad about that. And, I took a map to them. I was making some maps for some other friends, and so I made them a map of Bethany Township. And that was kind of a fun thing. They enjoyed that. They've never had one. It shows their whole township and has everybody's names on where they live, and so that was kind of a fun thing to do. But other than that, I had a quick meeting at Alma. I got there late, like at the very end. So I gave a real quick report, and other than that, that was about it. I have been busy, but with many other things such as the school, and I'm still there.
Sure. Well, like George mentioned, I was at Hamilton Township. And my goal is in the next couple of years to visit each of the townships. It's quite frankly, I don't even know where some of them are at unless I'm looking at the map. And I attended Seville Township last week. It's 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. And that's all I got. New business. Guess we got some guy here from Granger. Ooh, you, okay. Good.
I am some guy. My name is Charles Salver. I'll introduce myself here, but first I just want to say, Chairman, happy birthday again. Thank you, the commissioners, for allowing me to speak today. I am Charles Hauser. I'm the Governmental and Regulatory Affairs Manager for Granger Waste Services. I'm here today with Steve Blair, who is over here. Steve is environmental engineer for Granger. He has over 35 years of experience in the industry. Of industry knowledge, but as I get through this, you'll understand Steve would actually be the representative of our organization as I talk about that through this process going forward. So as you may or may not know, I am here today to talk about the materials management planning process. Sheila, who I saw is over there, she definitely knows who I am. I've reached out to her since January 8th when Eagle initiated the MMP process, but I do want to thank her for her patience and understanding how important this really is to a company and to the industry just in general, as well as the state and those stakeholders that are involved. But I also had the ability to reach out to Mr. Borton, who is here today from Isabella County, very early in the process, around the same day, a little bit after finding out that Gratiot County may join Isabella in a potential 8-county planning area, which would be led by Isabella County. That honestly is a little bit of a surprise. This is a new process for the industry. Normally, each county do their own plans, but an 8-county spread as a planning area seems a bit unusual and quite large. But definitely willing to participate in that process. So why have I been reaching out to these folks? Over the last 6 years, There has been a stakeholder process which resulted in the complete rewrite of the solid waste statute known as Part 115. This is 8 bills worth of statute that has been updated in our industry. In December of 2022, the new statute did pass, becoming effective in March of 2023. Within this statute is the requirement for each county to rewrite their solid waste management plans into materials management plans, which also set a benchmark recycling standard for the state of Michigan at 45%. The initiation of this process, according to the law, this is in this document, and when we were following it on the stakeholder group and watching it pass, it was supposed to begin actually in September of 2023. That's when the state said they would start to initiate this MMP process. And Eagle made it very clear to companies like us, as well as municipalities, you better be prepared. So when they say that, and this is a new process, that's exactly what we did. But as you are aware, the initiation instead of September of 23 did start January 8th of 2024. So in that process of being a stakeholder, as well as, just going to Eagle training, et cetera, through that period, we got a team together and we did become very prepared and understood this process and became very knowledgeable in it. And that is why we are prepared and ready to participate in these materials management planning committees. So in that process, we have reached out to the counties where we specifically, also have facilities, but where we provide services too. It's a knowledge that we have in the industry on how these areas work. And we did so early. And I know that was a pain a little bit, especially to Sheila, because we are reaching out as soon as this happened, because we want to make sure we don't miss the ball. But by law, we are able to cover at least 2 seats on most of these committees and 3 on others. And that is solid waste disposal facility operator and a hauler of managed materials. Those are the 2 that we pretty much on every proposal can participate as. And then the third one is or a recycle center operator. We do have a recycle center, but in this case, absolutely, we figured that Mr. Borton and or his staff would be the best representative there. And this information is on page 16. I did give you a quick guide of the materials management planning process. This is a big deal, and this is a great document that kind of explains it quickly. But what we have found throughout this process, again, we did start early, but I think the issue is, and it was mentioned earlier or before, that because we own facilities that include landfills, that we are only here for our own interests. That is simply not true. Yes, we own that infrastructure. That infrastructure is needed in this materials management process, but we also own trucks, both solid waste, recycling, as well as yard waste, which are needed in this process. We are one of the largest providers of services, including recycling in Gratiot County. So you know that. And we provide service to a large portion of Isabella County, including Central Michigan. So I have to say go Chips because I'm an alumni, but I had to give that little plug. What is also very important is that we do employ great people that live and work here in Gratiot County, as well as the surrounding counties, including Isabella's and others that are involved in this process. And we are quite involved in the communities that we serve. That is something about our company that we really do see to be very important. But most importantly is that we have customers that we have to provide the best service to here in Gratiot County. And that's something that we have to think about and why we want to move forward as being involved here. So is this a high priority as we revisit our operations that, may have to change to support the new functions that might come in these material management plans? Absolutely. We have several investments that if we need to maybe have more investments, we want to make sure our operations are able to change. And that's why we want to be involved with this process. I'll recap. In Gratiot, we have invested in facilities. We've invested in people. We've invested in service to our customers. And we look forward to being a partner in materials management as we work with communities and partners and the state to reach the necessary goals that will be set by these materials management plans. We also have years of experience, as mentioned with Steve, customers and assets that are detrimental to developing successful plans and goals. This is why we have called. This is why we are here, because we want to make sure we have a seat at the table and a seat as a partner. Now, real quickly, I'll jump into a little bit of the grant dollars portion of this, so you understand what it goes to the county or what may not go to the county. Within this law, your county will receive through this MMP process $60,000 per a year indefinitely. This is an appropriations item, so that could change, but at this point, it's indefinitely for investment in recycling infrastructure, staff, recycling education, services, and consultants to help write a plan for Gratiot County. If you go into the multi-county plan, this goes up to $70,000. You get an additional $10,000, but that may be shared by other counties. So that is something that you might have to consider. You will also receive a per capita amount of 50 cents per resident. Now, this was mentioned before that you have 42,000 residents at an estimate. And so that would result in $21,000 a year. But that in the law is only for 3 years. So you only see that for 3 years, that's $63,000, and then that is gone. And that information's on page 21 in your little packet there. The suggestion you were provided with is that the $70,000 of MMP grant money that Gratiot is to receive indefinitely will go into a pool to pay for construction maintenance and maintenance of a material recovery facility. What remains would then be decided by 8 counties where that funding is to be utilized. So to your name, in that instance, you would have $21,000 per year for 3 years. The point is here, and that is that we are not simply here for our own interest. The law requires industry, government representatives, and the public to work together in this process. We are here to have a seat at the table, to work together as a partner in the new materials management process, but to also make sure there is an even playing field and affordable, achievable options for residents of Gratiot County, Isabella, and beyond. We aren't asking for any money. We are asking for our knowledge and our experience to be put to use. So what I would ask of this commission today is I would ask that the commission consider adding a stipulation to the signing of today's document. The stipulation would be that a Granger representative has a seat on the Materials Management Planning Committee as either a hauler or a solid waste facilities operator. We invest in this county. We provide service to the residents of this county and in many other counties under the proposed agreement. We are not a national company that was mentioned in the last meeting, who seems to potentially have a table or a seat already at the table. We are a family-owned company of nearly 400 employees that has been a leading service provider throughout the region since 1966. Our dollars stay here in the state, and we want to be a partner in the future of materials management with Gratiot and Isabella County to help meet the goals in the proposed planning area. To conclude, I do look forward to talking with Mr. Borton about gaining a better understanding of the MERC vision and how we can help play a role in that. This is an exciting time for all of us, and I will say thank you for your time. Interesting and exciting.
Thank you.
I'm available for questions if you have any afterwards or.
So I guess your request is not to be the one who gets the 60,000. Your request is because do you work with already? Are you the waste haulers that haul to Isabella already?
I don't think we do already, but I think there's conversations of potentially hauling to that facility.
Okay. So where do you guys do your recycling now, I guess? Is it all in Lansing? Is that where the?
We have our transfer or processing and transfer facility where materials go to that, and then they do go down to what's called MTerra, a facility down in Lansing. So,
okay,
which is a material recovery facility.
Okay, so what they do here in Elma is that just is that where things go and like we empty trucks and then we put them through a compactor to put into the bigger trucks to haul down there? Cause
Yep, so, oh, you're talking about at our facility?
yeah,
Yep, so it goes into what's called a compactor, it's a
Mhm.
53-foot trailer.
Yep.
It's single stream, so single stream is what you would have a material recovery facility for. So that goes in, it looks like a pile of trash, right? But material recovery facilities, they have conveyors, they're, very expensive, places, but they do a good job of separating all that into bales of their own single material. So that is at this point what we do, but I believe there have been some conversations looking into Isabel. I believe that's a different sort of dual stream at this time, but there is a vision for single stream. I don't want to talk too much on it.
okay.
So,
All right, so basically, is this twofold? You're looking to be our sole proprietor that we sign with? Or are you looking
no,
to, for us to sign with Isabella and you want a seat at the table?
we want to see it at the table. Yeah,
Either for the hauling or the actual facility?
or the solid waste facility, because as I mentioned, they have in the planning area, the recycling facility. So they would definitely fall under which would also leave open, another spot for one of the big nationals in the area to be either a hauler or probably one of the materials facilities or the solid waste management facilities. But no, we want to be involved in this process. We want to be a partner in this process. We understand, like I said, we've been through this for 6 years, through the beginning stages of the law. And, as we transition and look at our operations, we want to make sure that things don't go so far out of control, but also that we're willing to help if each county in the planning area meet their recycling goals that are necessary for years to come. But we also have a consideration that, it was we have investments in this region. We
Mhm.
hire people in this region, so we don't know if with it being 8 counties, it might be nice to have a voice from Gratiot County as well at the table.
Do you have any of these kind of arrangements with any of the other 8 counties that are in talks right now with Isabel? Because I don't know where the standing of all the other counties are.
No, we've only talked to Isabella and Gratiot County out of this big 8
Okay.
county.
You provide services in those other counties as well? Okay. And do you have any of these agreements with any other counties already? Because obviously you got to be in Clinton County because you're on the border, with there.
Yeah,
And Eaton and.
I know we're gonna be representing Granger in Clinton County, so I have a seat at that table.
Okay.
But as for, agreements at this point, like I said, it's been very difficult. Surprisingly,
Obviously, it's new, this thing
Yeah.
came up in January or whatever, so.
yeah,
It's still new and in its infancy, so that's kind of where I'm, just trying to gain as much knowledge as we can so that we can make sure we do the right thing and what's best for Gratiot County and our
Yeah, it's a-
residents and
we,
waste management, so.
sure, I appreciate that. We provide, solid waste services from trash, recycle, yard waste, and we have the trucks that are involved in that. And those trucks are also what would help this process, those investments are what help this process, be successful. Because at certain points throughout these MMPs, by 2026, you have to provide 90% or 90% of communities that are considered an urban community need to have access to recycling. Well, for the most part, that's going to be related to the haulers that are involved. And then 2028, it goes into communities that have 5,000 or more individuals need to have 90% access to recycling. And then 2032, you have to have drop-off centers per every 100,000 resident, et cetera. There's just some interesting requirements through the law and through this MMP process. So all of that, again, that affects operations, and we do want to be a part of the operation that can help this planning area be successful.
It's my understanding that from the very beginning of when we started working with each other, that we've been very open about wanting to be a part of this process. You say that it's been difficult, but I feel like
Well, it's been difficult, the fact that, we've asked questions, we've asked to have meetings, and those things haven't happened, right? And then we get here and it said that 3 nationals are already gonna be at, could potentially be at the table. The GFLs, the Republic and Waste. And that's just something we're like, okay, well, we would like to have those conversations too, to see if it makes sense for us to participate in this, We are a family-owned business, but we're not necessarily a small family-owned business as well. We have the ability to provide services.
And Jake's gonna come up here and speak in just a minute, but I think from the very beginning with our talks with Isabella County too, we've made it known to them as.
I appreciate it. And that's what I say, I appreciate Sheila has been, helpful as well. It's just the information, and this isn't necessarily these counties, but it's been a little interesting considering what Eagle told us in terms of you better be prepared, and this is going to happen. And again, we have operations that we do need to make sure we have enough people and the changes, and it's not cheap to do things either. So, and we look forward to hopefully having conversations with Jake more often here to hopefully work with him. And that is, push for the material recovery facility. I mean, it's not a bad idea. We think we'd like to be at the table to have those conversations. That's.
I mean, I'm sure the board's gonna have many questions, especially after Jake comes up and speaks too. So, you may have to field some more questions here. And
that's okay.
Just a little bit.
I'm here. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Jake's the guy with all the hair.
Yep.
You're up.
Just want to do a quick little update before Jake comes up. So part of the requirements for this new process is that we are required to reach out to all of our touching counties. So I just wanted to let you guys know that those letters did go out last week to our counties. There are 6. And we have gotten 3 letters of back, and that is part of the requirement. If you get something in the mail, if you get an email that's talking about this plan and you don't know what it is, please get those documents to me. It's likely that they are going out to multiple touch points in each county, but please just get the information to me so that I can get that out. I was going to give a quick overview since there was only 3 of you here at the last meeting. That's already been done for me. I will just speak to the difficulty that was mentioned about meetings and those kinds of things. We are at the initial steps of this in that you guys have not decided how you want to move forward. And so there haven't been meetings to be a part of. So on that, I will have Jake come and speak about Isabella County.
Thank you for allowing us to come back and finish this conversation, or at least give everybody an understanding of what Isabella County is trying to do. To Granger's point, we have no intention of keeping any business in any sort when it comes to the waste or recycling side of things out of the conversation as we continue to move forward. We know that our partners, whether it's in the waste hauling industry or whether it's our partners that we hope to garner through county participation, that's the biggest reason Isabella County decided to do this and take such a massive material management plan, because he is very right in that. Most counties do it themselves. The reason that we have taken this approach is that, yes, we do have a recycling facility. We are in the central Michigan region. And for us to be able to garner the amount of material that if we upgrade that facility, we are going to be able to have to feed that machine. And that's a massive undertaking. The Isabella County in 2022, we received the study. We went out on an RFP for a feasibility study for our facility. That come back in 23. And the indication is that if we upgrade to a single stream facility, to be able to get to a point where we would be financially stable through that facility, we're gonna need about 25,000 tons a year. To get that amount of material is the reasoning behind why we are looking at a big material management plan. And to be able to take that approach. So to be able to get the materials, to be able to make it financially sound. We by no means want to exclude any, again, we know there's no intention of excluding anybody out of it. As somebody that's been in, as a county employee for the last almost 12 years, I do understand that it is the county's decision, each individual county's decision, who that representation will be from each county. So, I don't by any means want to deflect anything away from Granger's conversation from earlier. But as we move forward, and we do ask at some point, what you have on the table right now is a letter of intent. That letter of intent is the intent to work with, but it is not a contractual agreement. Okay. It is the intent to be able to work with Isabella County at some point. If that intent does get serious enough, then at that point, most certainly we will need to seek contractual agreements in a process of it would be an interlocal agreement for solid waste planning process. So we're not asking for that at this point. We are asking for a letter of intent to make sure that you continue to have a say as we move forward. And the big thing out of all of this, when it comes to, the material management planning side of things, every county is going to have a say. He's right in the fact that if you do a multi-county plan, there is $70,000 there for each county. That what Isabella County is proposing is that $70,000 would be used for a contractual agreement with the company to be able to do a material management plan. To do a material management plan for 6 to 8 counties, the big thing that everybody understands, even Granger themselves understands, that the state is going to be giving every county $70,000 if you're doing a multi-county plan. Every consulting firm knows that. So their base price is at a minimum going to be $70,000. I know that there is counties that have signed plans that if they're doing an individual plan, it's going to be, I think it's $80,000 over a 3-year period. So there's going to be some money left. But what I had stated in my last meeting here is that as we continue to move forward, and every county that has a seat at the table is going to be able to determine how that money is used. A material management plan of the size of what we're looking at, my guesstimate would be somewhere between $300,000 and $350,000 is what it's going to cost contractually, because you aren't looking at a single county plan. You are looking at a multi-county plan. That and to be able to do that, it's the data and information that is going to have to be collected to be able to write that plan. I understand that Granger has that ability to do that. And whether it's Granger, whether it's any of the other major haulers, all of them have that ability to be able to help in that nature. I think Isabella County will go out on an RFP, and we will see exactly what we get back in return on companies that have interest in bidding that kind of a material management plan. But we have by no means have any interest in excluding any company or discouraging any company from being able to do business within Isabella County. So it's not just, it's not Granger. It's, there's all the other haulers, whether it's from any of the, as aforementioned, Republic, Waste Management, GFL, King's Disposal that is in Montcalm County. So there's even the small haulers that have to be taken into consideration when you're doing something like this. The big thing, so that, there's going to be language that gets put into these plans that can put restrictions on different things. That's, that's where the material management planning process gets kind of into the weeds when it comes to the major haulers. And I consider Granger one of the major haulers, because they are, they're not a small company by any means. And I do appreciate the fact that they are at the table and have interest in being part of this. But again, I think that comes down to, you as commissioners, your decision as to who representation wise you would want at the table. So.
Can you explain to the commission what exactly this table is and how many seats there will be for Gratiot County? Who's representing some of the counties that are already contractually with you, just to give them an idea?
Yeah, there's different requirements as far as what the state, there's an actual list, and the gentleman from Granger alluded to that list. And I can read off some of the requirements that, so that you do have an understanding.
Sorry, I didn't get a handout.
Right here. I got two, so.
There is.
Eagle report.
Yeah, and it is in that quick guide. It does touch on that. One solid waste disposal facility operator, one managed material hauler, one material recovery facility operator, one compost and anaerobic digestion facility operator, one waste diversion, reuse, or reduction facility operator. So, in counties, smaller counties like ours, that one is something like Habitat for Humanity could be used in that position. Just to kind of give you some ideas on that.
When you say, I heard the word one, or there's several.
Yes.
So what's one mean?
It means that you have to have somebody in that industry out of each one of these. Okay,
Oh,
it doesn't
on your
mean
committee?
on the material management planning committee. It doesn't mean that is only going to be one.
Okay.
Okay, and please understand.
Narrow the field so bad that you get one point of view.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, we have to take into consideration that each individual county is going to want somebody there. So when I'm going down through, you're seeing that there's going to be about 8 or 9, 10 different seats at the table, so to speak. That's not gonna end up being the case, because, you're not gonna be any different than Isabella County wanting, 1 or 2 members on that board. There has to be private business on there. There has to be, all of these different things, an environmental interest group. So like the young lady that was in here earlier talking about windmills and solar projects, that's an environmental interest group, so to speak, if she's a registered group. There has to be somebody like that on this plan, but at the table, so that they have an understanding.
People on this thing.
You could end up with and this is where it starts to get difficult, because realistically, the old solid waste plans, I think it was, 13 or 14 members on a solid waste plan originally. You all know, sitting here, how difficult it gets to be able to have decisions made when you have that many people at the table. But you also need to make sure that every county is doing their diligence to make sure that they're, what they're wanting done is being, it's being looked at, and that answer is there to make sure that you feel confident in what is best for your residents. An elected official in each county, township, or city and village. So, that's where, like I said, it really bleeds a lot of people at the table. Individuals that generate a managed material, one regional planning agency. So somebody like MCOG, or your, in Mount Pleasant, the Middle Michigan Development Authority. So it's somebody along that line, whether it's MCOG or, there has to be a regional planning agency at the table as well. So there is, a lot of different people that will need to be at the table. It will not be, it's not going to be 8 or 10 guys, or I shouldn't say guys, excuse me. It's not going to be 8 or 10 people that's going to be able to say, this is how we want to do it, and that's that. That won't be the case by any means.
So realistically, you would expect 2 to 3 people from each county to
I think that would, I really believe it'll be 2 to 3 people at least out of each county. And so it does make it a very, and that's part of the reason why that expense, when I talk about $350,000 for that material management plan, it's managing that whole process. You know, you can go out and collect that data. A consulting firm can go out and collect all that data out of all of them counties. It's in bringing it back to the table. It's getting them, people sitting at the table that has a say in that whole material management process. It's to manage that. That's going to be the difficult part of it. And that's what Isabella County is taking on as a responsibility.
Well, if this board decided that they wanted Granger to have a representative at the table, that would be good. That would be okay with Isabella County, right?
Absolutely.
That's one of the things we're supposed to have as a representative from the hauler or material. Jake, obviously you're the disposal facility operator, correct?
Yes.
Do you also qualify for the materials recovery facility operator?
Well, that's what we are really is, I mean, as far as that, we're not necessarily, I don't consider us, where I consider that we fall in is a material recovery facility operator.
Do you have, or is this something that we're gonna, all these counties or we would have to have access to an anaerobic digester? I know like some of the big dairy farms have them, but they probably don't want people dumping their trash in them.
You got $80 million? They ain't cheap.
I know they're not.
Farm.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Other management, I know.
An anaerobic digester, the city of Mount Pleasant has an anaerobic digester.
They do, okay.
So, you know, I mean, there's a good chance that somebody from the city would set that position, so to speak.
I just, you have access to one because they're not everywhere.
Right.
So,
Yes, we do. You know, that's no different than composting. You know, I mean, there's areas that do yard waste collection. Granger made a, you know, reference to that. You know, they do a yard waste collection area. I would assume that probably goes to a composting facility. Because I know it cannot go into the landfill, because that's against state law. And
used to be one right on our county line. I don't know if they still operate it or
you know,
not.
so there's.
There used to be one right at the corner of Woodbridge and County line, with Clinton County. It was on part of Moore Seed Farm. They did all kinds of recycling went there and they
Not sure
had
that,
all these big machines that covered it up.
yeah.
Made this long line of compost. I don't know whether that.
Wind rowers,
I don't know
about
if
it.
they'll do it or not, but they did for years. And there are people with all leaves and trees and all kinds of stuff there, so.
I just want some more clarification
Mhm.
as how this organization is to be formed. You've got to start somewhere. So you're starting with us tonight with a letter of intent
Mhm.
to work with Isabella County on this program.
Yes.
All right. And then our role from then on is what?
Your role would be to be able to have somebody sitting on, as we continue to move forward, it will develop into, we have an ad hoc committee right now that's established to be able to work towards a remanufacture or reman of our recycling facility. But you know, that's just to be able to that was to be able to get things up and running. We are
How
starting.
long of a process do you think this is going to be to establish this committee, if you will?
Has to be done before July 8th.
You've got to get moving. There's a lot of wheels here.
I have 5 letters of intent.
But I'm thinking there's a lot of wheels here. You got a lot of people.
I have 5 letters of intent as it stands right now,
Okay.
from surrounding counties. You know, and we expect that we will be receiving one from Ogama County as well. I have another meeting with, I had a meeting last week with Midland County, and trying to get another meeting set up. It's for Midland County. It's there's a lot of difference between Midland County and every other county that we're working with. And in fact, it's a lot of different than a lot of almost every county in the state of Michigan. Because the city of Midland itself has a landfill within its city boundaries. That's why it becomes, there's the political issue. The city of Midland's aversion to this passage on Part 115. In that 45% recycling rate that the state wants to see. To the city of Midland, that is a loss in revenue. Is the way that's the way that they look at it. They're not looking at, geez, we're going to be able to keep things out of the landfill. They're looking at it as that's going to be a loss of revenue. Because you're going to take things out of the landfill that we use to be able to capture the methane gas to sell back to be able to generate revenue. So, and it's part of the reason why that becomes a little bit more political. At a minimum, I hope to be able to try and garner the material coming out of Midland County, whether we get Midland County on board or not. I'm going to continue to work towards that. But at a minimum, I would like to be able to pull that material. So.
Well, I'm conflicted here. I want to give this committee all the power that they need to do the job. But at the same time, we have the Granger Company here asking us to ask you to take them on, and I have a problem with that. If we're gonna have this committee do what they need to do, then we have to have the power to say, you guys do what you need to do. I don't like the fact that we're gonna pick somebody. You know what I'm saying? You rebut that at all, Commissioner?
What? I mean, the thing with Granger, you guys cover most of the county, correct? So they're already our hauler that collects garbage up the entire county anyhow. And they have a facility here. Nobody else has one in our county. So they employ our people, they pay taxes to our county. That means something to me personally. And it's not that they're trying to take our funds. They just want a voice as our hauler, which we have to pick one anyhow, right? We have to do that. According to this, it says a representative of the hauler or managed material. We have to have one. Why not be somebody who pays taxes?
Well, yeah, but where are you reading that out of the Eagle one?
Yeah, on
Also,
page
don't you
16.
have a contract with each one of
That's what this committee has to go by.
cities?
That's my point.
Don't you have?
Listen,
So when we're done with this committee, Jake,
Yeah, you can't break contracts either.
the committee would only be one hauler management.
I don't-
What does each foresee? Because this says an elected official of the county, an elected official of a township. So are we talking, each county is gonna have to have somebody there. We're gonna have to have some township from our county have somebody there.
That's gonna be up to your choice, because there is a little bit of differences in how this is where it gets sticky, and the gentleman from Granger knows this as well. This is where it gets sticky, as to, what you guys so choose, what your representation is. All we're asking is that, that's gonna be left to you guys to decide who sits on that committee. Whether it be your DPA, which, if you do a multi-county plan, that can be designated down to one DPA rather than each county having a DPA. The DPA is a designated planning agent, which is Bernie. Okay. So that you're aware. So your DPA in your county now is that designee. As like for Isabella, I am the DPA for Isabella County. So I am the designated planning agent for Isabella County, myself and my operations supervisor. So, it can be switched by doing a multi-county plan. It can be taken down to one DPA, which then also can bump up, it would be able to bump up membership out of each individual county to make sure that there's representation for each county.
Of your five, has anyone else stipulated a hauler?
No.
No one has at this point. I have your letter of intent, okay.
No, and that's the thing, we have not at this point. And I have, like I had said, the last time I was here, there is some major haulers that have that do business in Isabella County as well as some of the other surrounding counties. So,
Well, trust me, depending on where you go, you see what trucks you see. I mean, some places it's Granger, some places it's Waste, some places it's public. I mean,
That's called competition.
absolutely.
I don't want to stymie competition.
Mm-hmm.
This is my point.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I don't like monopolies.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to stymie competition.
yeah, and I expect that some of the other counties will very well place a material handler or a material hauler on that committee. I really expect it. I would almost guarantee you that Clare County will appoint waste management because they have a landfill within their boundary.
They have a landfill and they have a contract with the whole county. I mean, a lot of the townships have a contract that they,
Contracts.
yeah.
You know,
Taxes.
The thing that I do know is that like waste management I would expect it would be a Clare County representation because of the fact that they have a landfill in it.
Waste management.
And it's not to say that Granger doesn't meet the same requirement, because they do have a landfill in, what is it, Clinton County, or is it Ingham? I don't know the exact border lines on it.
Yeah, I think it.
Okay.
Both counties.
Okay.
Right.
So that's the thing. I mean, they meet that requirement as well. I think this is where, like I said, I think you're gonna see when this all works its way through, that you would see probably 3 different companies at a minimum that would be on that, and possibly even 4 different companies and out of the waste industry itself that would be on that board. The big thing for us as a county is that, the idea behind it is that we don't want to stymie business by any means, but we also want to be able to write what is best for not just Isabella County, but any county that is involved with this. The language that goes into that material management plan is critical as to how material is handled and how it's, recycling is
It's
handled.
all about money. You know that as well as I do. The cost is gonna get spread on to the consumer. All right? And we want to keep the cost, we want to do our bit, we want to keep the cost as low as possible. And so I get concerned when all these haulers are in there making their way, and all of a sudden your trash bill went up $30 a month. That's a problem. And that's what I don't like any of this myself. The government gets into it, makes a terrible thing. But I'm just trying to do the best for the people of Gratiot County. And if that is, in fact, to put our chosen waste hauler on there, Granger's the only one that's come and asked us, really. If we put him on there, then if we've got, like you said, 2 or 3 other waste haulers on there, that keeps everybody honest. To a degree, it keeps everybody honest, doesn't it? Instead of just 1 or 2, it keeps.
Well, I can't imagine, I mean, with knowing Clare County and that they have a facility, I'm sure it's gonna come to the same thing I am. We have a company who owns a facility in our county, pays taxes in our county, employs our people, already covers the vast majority of the county. So to me, and I'm sure there's but a lot of even your sideline, there's a couple of small haulers who make their living hauling garbage. They haul it all to Elmani. Goes to Granger and goes to Lansing to get.
Okay, make that decision tonight.
That's, and
Just
to
ask.
me, let's say some hiccup comes, Granger sells the facility here to Republic 5 years from now. We can change this. This doesn't last forever, correct?
There is appointment times. There's
Yeah,
appointment
it's
times.
gonna be,
It comes to, once that committee is formed and people are appointed,
and just like
the original appointment is a 5-year period
that's good. It's
of everybody that would be on that committee. And then it's progressively drops down so that you don't lose everybody all at once. There's gonna be it steps down a year then for each member that's added in there. There's a rotational period on it to be able to make sure that you keep, as we all know, the big thing is that you hate to lose institutional knowledge. when it comes to a committee like that.
Yeah,
So there's a progressional,
there's a simple.
reflection process
Yes.
of all of that.
So that gives me some solace is that we're not locking in forever to some, you know what I mean? It's a process, so.
And just to kind of clarify, it's a little bit on this, the state says, and this is where that almost makes me want to wipe my tongue when I say that the state says, the state says that they're gonna give us, $60,000, for a county. Yeah, okay, if they decide to change that appropriation, it's no longer there. I think the way I see it at this point is that they've obligated to 3 years. The 50 cents per capita money, they state in a lot of the language that we get, they state that it's that you will receive that 3 years or until funding is expended. Okay, is funding expended in the first year? Is it expended in the third year? The biggest thing that none of us want to see is that we don't want another unfunded mandate. Make sure that we're covering counties enough to make, to be able to cover the cost of what it's going to be to be able to get a material management plan. You were more hopeful than I was on saying that, we expect that that's going to last indefinitely. And it's not to say that that it wouldn't, but I expect, that is probably, there's a 3-year period on being able to institute the material management plan, and whether that's $60,000 or $70,000 stays there after that. Okay. Then, I think all of us can.
It's my 2 cents real quick. I think if we're going to come up with an elaborate collaborative plan that is in front of us, we should have the people there that are going to execute the plan. So I'm just going to leave it at that. My vision the entire time was that we would ask that Sheila would be a part of this and that Gratiot would be a part of this. So we have both sides of it, and frankly, I think Granger has ran and executed the county's waste plan for the last, probably since you've been in the county. So it's probably 2.5 cents, but that's all I've got.
Well, you're the county administrator. We value your input. That's for dang sure, because let's figure out what's
Do
going.
you see a problem with us doing that today, stipulating our hauler? This is a letter of intent. It's not a contract anyhow. It's a letter of intent. But yes, that's.
The only problem, the only problem that there is that you have to understand, it's nothing against Granger. There's a procedural process that this has to follow. Okay, you guys internally can say that Granger, when this material management planning committee is formed, Granger is going to be that participant. I just want to make sure that it follows the procedural process to get through approval with the state of Michigan. And how you guys choose to do that as a board itself, is entirely up to you. I just know that please understand there is a procedural process. So, and that would be the representation of, would be for Gratiot County.
Right. That took a long time to get to that point, but we're here.
My thinking is, we could sign the letter of intent without naming Granger in there, with the understanding that they would be appointed to the committee.
Yeah, it would be, it's not that we're naming our hauler of choice, but I would think it would be the general understanding of this commission that when it came time, they would be asked to go on that committee. And if that,
Because we're gonna have to make a determination of who's, there's 11 people. obviously, if we're going with Isabella County, that takes a couple of these off our list.
We're not gonna decide that. The committee's gonna decide that.
This is just minimum requirements too.
Yeah.
There's gonna be more than 11.
Oh,
On this 8 county.
Well, there's gonna be,
They have to have as a minimum.
there's gonna be 60 people by the time it's all done.
They'll have to
So if you got a commissioner from each commission, you're gonna have to have this thing in the
have to go to like,
meeting, they'll have to be at the casino at the.
no, they'll have to go to.
Now you're hoping, now you're hoping, Steve.
For the damn thing.
Central Michigan University, one of their lecture halls, where it goes right straight up.
On the committee with 40 people, 40 to 45 people.
So do I hear a motion to?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, wait a minute. Why don't we take about 15 minutes? I'd like to read a page here that was in the back. Can we do that? Take a recess?
Oh,
Well, there's a page here on,
The back of the.
yeah, 19, page 19. I'd like to take a minute and look this over. It kind of tells you, the process. I think we should all read this over. I gotta get.
And I hope that you can make more sense of it than I can.
Yeah,
I would say it's
it's just a bunch of legalese.
Glasses.
Yeah, that's gonna mean basically nothing to me.
I don't mean to make fun of that, but there's a lot of process to that. So I thank you very much for your time.
All right.
Thank you.
No.
Don't know that we need to read that just to, sign.
Make a motion that we go ahead and accept the letter of understanding of Isabella County.
Work.
And also that, Chris be allowed to assign the agreement.
Yes.
That's what it.
Motion by George, second by Steve, to sign a letter of intent with Isabella County on regional recycle plan. All those in favor say aye.
I have one question. That what we're signing right now is saying that we're interested in it. Is that correct?
Saying what, man?
Okay, we're doing a motion to move into this, how
The
you,
letter of intent,
letter of intent.
Yes.
Okay,
not a contract. It's just a letter of intent to work with.
okay, that's what I'm, be sure.
It is not a contract by any means. It is a letter of intent to work with Isabella County. And like I had expressed is that as we get closer through this, there will, I will need to come back and present a letter of, it will be an interlocal agreement is what an ILA is what I'll refer to it as.
And then at that point in time, we gotta actually start putting this committee together, correct?
Yes.
Of all these different people. So we're gonna have to reach out to what village or city wants to be involved in this. Cause we need one there. That's part of it. Which township wants to be involved in it? I mean, that's,
The committee has put together pieces of all 8 counties, so we don't have to supply one of each of those.
No.
Just the committee of all 6 or 8 counties.
the
would have-
state isn't requiring that we, Gratiot County, have this.
No, if you do it individually,
Go alone and
then you have to meet each individual, what is exactly on there for requirements. If it's a multi-county plan, then it comes down to what you as commissioners feel that you need on that committee to be able to have a say as to how you, any funding is expended. So.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Opposed, nay. Okay. Proposed zoning map amendment.
Well, my iPad died.
You don't have one?
Nope. I'm the. Oh, it's down here on the floor. Excuse me, everybody.
Everybody bow your heads. He's praying.
Behave yourself.
Did he drop something?
Oh, you gotta plug in his, see the little cord coming up there?
Oh.
There it comes. Look it, here it comes. That should hold. That should hold. That should hold.
Well, I have to crawl down there.
No.
It's a new that.
Must be nice to be young and get down and up.
Don't let Sheila feel lonesome there. Yeah, okay.
Battery has, it just, or if you keep the screen on, it just cooks through the batteries.
Zoning.
Rezoning, proposed zoning map amendment for North Star Township. Deandra.
Remember my name. How you guys doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Make it short.
Any promises? All right,
No promises?
I said, make it short.
I
You said
know.
no- And she said, no promise.
No promise.
Yeah.
so I know that we do have a few new members on here. I believe that our last zoning ordinance amendment was in 2014. So for those of you who aren't familiar with your process, I personally just learned about this process 2 months ago because we have not done this since I joined the county 4 years ago. So it's definitely been, I did not realize that actually you guys are the ones who have the final say. I thought it would just be another matter of taking it to the planning commission, holding a couple of public hearings, and then it'd be good to go. But actually, you guys do have the final say on zoning ordinance amendments and zoning map amendments. So what we're looking at today is a zoning map amendment. So I did give you, I gave Angie a copy of the amendment process, for an amendment of an ordinance and then an amendment of the map. They're fairly standard processes. What we had to do with the planning commission was we posted a couple notices. We held a public hearing. The planning commission has a recommendation for you. Our zoning administrator has a recommendation for you. And then I also reached out to the township supervisor to get the feel on how they felt about this. So we also have a recommendation from them as well. So there are a little bit of criteria for amending an official zoning map. One of those criteria is this proposed amendment consistent with goals, policies, future land use recommendations? The second criteria is this proposed amendment compatible with the site's physical, geological, hydrological, other environmental features? Is there evidence that the applicant cannot reasonably use the property in its current zoning district? And does the compatibility of the permitted uses in the proposed zoning district meet the surrounding area? So basically, we received this application and it is for a parcel in North Star Township. On this parcel is, I don't know what their official name was, but people call it the North Star Bar. So some of you may be familiar with that. And then on this bar, there's also an apartment above the bar itself. So the first level is the bar, the second level is an apartment. Currently, this property is located in a local business district. And in a local business district, you cannot use it for residential purposes. So I'm not quite sure how that apartment got above or approved, but in the current zoning district that it's at, it's not allowed to be lived in. And the building has been vacant for a number of years. It hasn't been used. It's not necessarily an eyesore, but when you have an empty building, I mean, the future of it doesn't look very bright. So the idea of the application is to move this property into the M1 residential district. And this would allow the property owner or future property owners to live within the building itself. Because in a local business district, again, you cannot use it for residential purposes.
What if they decide they want to have a bar there 2 years from now?
I mean,
Is there a split use thing? We
we don't currently have a mixed use.
I know full well, but
Right,
there's bars out in the middle of nowhere.
You can bring it, you bring it somewhere,
There's
bring it one day, you bring it another way.
right. So the property owner is here and she can speak more to it on this. But it is suggested that there is already a potential buyer. The buyer wants it as a residential use, and the idea is to, in layman's terms, live upstairs and then have an awesome game room downstairs. They're not looking to turn it in commercial use. They're not looking to own their own business or open a business below. They're not looking to say, hey, happy hours from 5 to 6 on these days.
They want to use it as a residential use. So what we did was we had a public hearing. We did not receive any written or in-person complaints from any of the neighbors. All of the neighbors within 300 feet were notified per regulation. I spoke with John Hardman, who is the assessor and the township supervisor. Him and the board fully support this decision. Obviously, the property owner as well wants this to go through. And then the planning commission themselves also discussed it, and they feel that the best choice and best option would be to approve the proposed zoning district amendment.
If they want to change it to a bar in 2 years, DeAndre's gonna kill
So you want to rezone the residential.
The bar to residential,
From commercial.
from commercial to residential.
Yeah, so actually it is currently, so it's kind of tricky when you say rezoning. So what we're doing is changing the map. So currently the map, there are different districts, and right now this property is located in the local business district. What we're changing is that specific district to M1 residential, so then they can use it as residential. So the only thing that's stopping the residential use is this map in the district it's located in. And M1 residential is what every other parcel surrounding this property is. If you look at the zoning map, it is basically the four corners of that intersection that are local business. And my assumption is that in previous years, when they first developed this map, was that North Star had this grand plan that this would be like the little central downtown focus. And unfortunately,
Time it was.
Let's have, does it require a vote?
Yes.
It does require a vote. I motion we vote.
Perfect. To approve it?
To approve the,
Yes.
Yes, I'll second it.
moved by Tim, supported by Jan, to do a zoning map amendment for parcel 11-503-012-00, parcel in downtown North Star. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
There you go.
short and sweet.
That was the last in the garbage.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
NH Print Services request for proposals, Matt?
Good evening. First off, can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good to hear. So tonight I wanted to present to the board our managed print services request for proposals that we had posted. That closed out on March 4th, and we had basically two companies that responded to it. One of those two companies actually submitted two different proposals. Out of those three vendors, the low vendor was our current managed print services vendor, Applied Innovation, who we've been working with since 2019. So my recommendation would be to continue to do business with Applied Innovation. The cost per month working with them would be about $3,600 per month, and then the lowest of the two proposals from the other vendor was about $4,600 per month. So over the course of the 5-year agreement, that would save the county a pretty substantial amount of money, around $60,000. So if there's any questions
To vote on that.
about the agreements, I'm more than,
I'm in favor of saving money.
Let him finish the presentation.
All right,
Go ahead, man.
yeah, oh, thanks. Yeah, so it's not very often that I get to come to the board and say that renewing an agreement would actually cost the county less money, but that's what we're looking at right here. And Applied Innovation wanted to kind of touch on that a little bit. The main reasons that they were able to offer more favorable terms this go around is because we're actually going to be cutting our print fleet down by about 10%. So that's one of the reasons. And then the other reasons were that if we agree to this proposal, all of the machines that the county uses will have been applied imaging purchased machines. So they're all machines and models that they're very familiar with, and that's one of the reasons that they can support them at a lower cost.
All in favor of giving departments the stuff that they need to do their job?
And
Go ahead, Tim, make your motion.
Need money, okay. Jim.
I make a motion, we vote.
Work by Steve,
Work.
that we go with the proposal that Matt has suggested for computers and, or not computers, printers,
With applied innovation.
applied innovations. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed, nay. Okay,
Thank you.
yep.
thank you for doing that.
It's good. You can see it.
Wage study.
So, all that money we just saved.
That's not the way to start it.
So Sheila has spent the last two meetings explaining to you the makeup of our wage survey that was performed, our wage study. Presenting to you the different, how it was calculated, what was calculated. What I'm gonna bring and go over with you tonight is how much would it cost to implement this? And frankly, can the county afford it? In your handouts, the memo that I put together, at the very beginning of the memo, I put together an outline of things that I wanted to be able to answer and accomplish in this presentation. I want to explain to you how much the study suggests that the increase in salaries would cost on an annual basis. I'm going to explain to you that some of these positions, the wages have already been adjusted to some of the current comps. Some of the positions no longer exist. I'm going to explain the process of combining the two different salary schedules that we have in the courthouse right now. Employees in the courthouse are represented by two different unions. One of them is, I apologize, I know the acronyms for them. I don't know exactly what they stand for, but GELC and TPOAM. And over the course of the years, these two salary schedules have not grown apart from each other, but they are not the same. The wage study suggests that we combine the salary schedules into one for the employees. So not only will that make things a lot easier for us as administration and for payroll and things like that, but there are other benefits for that also. I want to show you some of the things in our budget this year, some of the things in our budget in previous years that we won't be seeing going forward to show potential cost savings that we could absorb this. And then I'm going to ask you your questions, what you'd like to see, what additional information you would like, and to explain what happens next. Now, I worked on this last week. It took me a couple days probably to crunch the numbers. I thought in my heart of hearts that we would be able to afford to give our employees at a minimum, a portion of what was recommended for this, and potentially even to implement it on a multi-year basis. I was pleasantly surprised when I ran the numbers to see that I was a little more comfortable with the idea of it than I was before running the numbers. The study itself, when it was given to us, does lay out how much it would cost for implementation, and that cost was $402,000 or $402,665. Now that's salary only. If you add in the benefits or the Social Security, Medicaid, 401(k) costs, retirement, you're looking at another $50,000. So close to $452,000. Now, that is for all of it. That is for on an annual basis. But like I said, there were multiple positions that cost of living had already been adjusted and positions that have been eliminated. An example of that, and most recent example of that would be when the prosecutor came in here and this board increased the wages for the other attorneys that work in her office. Another example is when we had negotiations with the sheriff unions, we also factored in comparatives to bring their wages up to what a lot of the counties that this study compared them to also. So when you subtract out all of those positions, the cost to implement 100% of it goes down to just a shade under 350,000. So from 452 down to 350.
Annually.
That would be annually, correct. So the next little portion of your handout, I showed you what the salary schedule combination would kind of look like. I gave you a snippet of our TPOAM, GELC, and then what the new wage study is. The lowest step or the lowest scales on there and the highest. And when you look at that, you see that TPOAM, the lowest step or the lowest grade for that is at $12.57. For GELC, $12.19. And the wage study would be suggesting that the lowest starting dollar per hour would be $15 an hour. But when you look at the top out, the top doesn't increase nearly percentage wise as much as the lower for us. And frankly, what that is that's the McDonald's effect. When McDonald's and all these other companies came in and they increased pay from $10 an hour to $15 an hour, that's what you're seeing, the ripple effect. It has made it to government essentially. So the majority of the adjustments will be at the lower end of the salary scales. So when we look at that, the next logical question is, can we afford that? And if we can't afford it, show me how specifically in the budget. Why? Because that's what you're going to want to see. You're going to want to know exactly how we can afford it, not just hearing someone say that you can. So what I did is if we were to implement this, there are definitely some rules that we want to follow that you want to make sure that we follow if we do. Number one, we absolutely cannot use any one-time funding source in order to fund salaries. Because as we know, salaries will be paid year after year after year. If we see some municipalities that are paying salaries with ARPA funds, well, ARPA funds are going to run out. And how are you going to bridge that gap in your budget going forward? The second thing is kind of a rule that George likes to make sure that we follow every budgetary time. He likes to make sure that our salaries do not exceed 65% of what our revenues are coming in. Years ago, we did a study of financial statements, and we found that financially successful counties have a reserve in their budget of at a minimum 35% for non-salary expenses. Particularly, we would see, for example, I think one of the counties that I would look at was Clinton County, and they typically maintain about a 58 to 62% salary to revenue coming in comparison. So when I went into our current year budget and adjusted it for The revenues expected not to come in next year. The revenue is expected to be increased for next year. Adding in the salaries for the cost of the wage study, adding in the salaries for the sheriff negotiations that we did not budget for. When we run that ratio, we come in at about 61%. So our expenditures were our salary.
Giving all these raises, correct?
That's with implementing.
Implementing the wage.
100%. Okay, that's correct. So we are gonna see some increase due to solar. We're gonna see a net increase in our property taxing going up. But then we're also, this is also factoring in our depreciation of our turbines too. So while it is a very broad estimation, it does bring in all of the big factors that do affect both positive and negative for our budget. And the third item that I want to touch on that we have to make sure that we get correct if we do this is we would have to have the unions on board with it from day one. We would be affecting their salary schedules, their grades, we would not affect their steps, but the unions would need to understand that when they look at how we negotiated with the sheriff's office, that negotiation included adjusting the comps to make sure that we were paying what other counties were paying in the area. So there's going to be a two-step process working with the unions if we implement this wage study, but then we're going to immediately turn around and we're going to open up contracts to work on the next 2 or 3 year contract that we put together with them for the upcoming fiscal year.
Question. We have in the past discussed with the union the possibility of leveling out the wages between the two. And would that ever come into play here, or are we gonna keep them separated? There were some certain divisions. I'm trying to remember the union negotiations now, it's been a couple of years, but there was a process where I think it was TPOAM was, and some positions was same as the other one, and they were getting paid less, and we were trying to figure out a way to combine that.
TPOM at a couple of years ago had 2 different pay scales within their own.
Okay, is that what it was? Okay, I know it was something that screwed me up.
And we did combine those in our last.
So we fixed that.
agreement. Yes.
Just when you were talking to two, and it just popped into my head. All right.
So now I want to address going forward in our budgets, if we were to implement this, how or why we would be able to afford it. As you know, we have been working very diligently over the last 5 years of taking care of those generational capital projects that we have around the courthouse here. We've refinished, repaired the sandstone from the base of the courthouse all the way up. We have paid down a significant portion of our drain debt that we had accumulated over years and years of financing drain debt. I believe we should be down to around the general fund, like owing around $400,000 or $500,000.
Yeah.
And when we started, it was in the range of 1.8 million.
It was huge, yeah.
I will be going over our OPEB report here shortly. 6 years ago, our OPEB liability was $4.4 million. And just a teaser, it's as of this year is down to $400,000. Our pension fund remains funded. In 2026, we have 2 bonds that we will have paid off. One of them is an $800,000 annual payment. The other is approximately $50,000.
What were those? Was one of those, that we took money to pay on the retirement?
Yes,
Correct.
one of them was a pension,
No.
the other is the EOC building. Going forward, on top of those savings, we also expect to cut back on capital projects, approximately $350,000 going forward a year. We have been budgeting between $600,000 and $750,000. But we have gotten to that point where we have knocked out all the big projects. The remaining projects that we have for this year, we have some structural issues that we have budgeted. We have windows that are budgeted, which are the feedback on that is that we're going to come in under budget for that. And it can't be ignored also that our police and corrections officers, when we negotiated with them, said that they were not interested in having a new jail, that they were satisfied with the one that they are working out of right now. So I don't know if that statement or that from them during negotiations would change the minds of this board about going forward with that, but it's something interested to consider. But all in all, I do expect our budget to be down, expenditure wise, down approximately $600,000 in the years forward because of the investments that we have been making. And this is the point of the presentation where I guess I look for questions from you or more information that I can bring to you at a later date. I'm not asking for a decision from you tonight. You've gotten a lot of information from us over the last 4 weeks, and it would be a good thing to continue to look that over and come up with questions, either through email or at the next meeting. So was there?
You and I talked briefly on this, and that's a good snapshot of where we are today. But I would like to have a little more in depth, because when I leave this place, I want to know that we did a good job and that we're not going to start laying people off. So I would ask that we have a 5 and a 10-year projection on what, and this is all boogeyman stuff. You're thinking you're trying to project, and that's a little difficult sometimes. But it gives us a better reference of where we're going to be in 5 years and in 10 years, because you've got fluid tax rates all over the county. You've got wind turbines that are coming down in age out in the north eastern part of the county. They're starting to come down now. You've got ones that have just started, and they'll start to dissipate. And then you'll have another round that'll come in. So it's going to be up and down and up and down. I just want to make sure that we don't smile today and give you a big raise and tell you tomorrow you're going to get laid off. I just can't handle that. That would just not set well. So if we can do something like that, that would give us a little more projection of where we're at, so that we know that we're going to be on solid ground. And also take into account, I know we've done a great job in the last 5 years, 6 years around this courthouse. It's an older building that we're dealing with. There's a lot of upkeep. And so maybe get with the permits department, get with Tony, get with those people and say, what do you see next? Is there a big project? And what's that gonna be?
Potential disaster.
What's our, and then start looking, again, we have to change our AC out all the time. I mean, since I've been here, I can't tell you how many units we've put on the jailhouse and on this building. And
that was cyclical though, too.
Yeah.
We replaced them before they failed.
Well, I know, I understand that. We're doing a good job at that.
Right.
But I want to continue to do a good job at that. I don't want to say, well, we can't do it this year. We should be able to, just, get your little group together and get a little think tank going and say, what do you think? Because I want to make sure that we stay around that 65% for our foreseeable future. And I think if we have a good projection for 5 and out to 10, and we could see that, that'll make me feel up.
You caught me at a good time when you asked me that in the office the other day because Keegan was there. So I had a chance to sit down with Keegan and he put out some feelers to some of the economic or economists in his field to see if they have any projections for real estate going forward for business, for industry. So that was a perfect time to ask me that question and so that is in the works.
Good, yes. But I just want everybody to know, we did talk about it. That's something I'm not bringing up new to him.
Chris, I'll be stopping tomorrow night too, after I get out of school, unless I don't have to work tomorrow to pick up the information I wanted.
Okay.
That should be sooner, but I'd buy a new phone.
Which
And,
information you've had?
I would like to, I want a list of all the departments and who works in each department, how long they've been here, what grade they're at and how much they're at. And how much we would be raising each one of those.
Okay.
Is that too soon to stop?
We are in the middle of compiling all that information on an individual basis and
The reason I ask that because we give raises, and then a month later, people are coming in asking for more raises or an increase, or they want to go to a higher step. I'd like to know where we're at right now with everybody and where they're going to be afterwards.
Okay.
And then also I'd like to take a look at the study that we had.
Okay. I'm not certain that we can have the employee information ready because we have to do that manually.
Okay,
But I would expect to have that ready early next week.
okay, that'll be good. I'm off all next week. I could also stop in and take a look at the study. I would do
Yep.
that.
Okay.
My question on the wage study. When we filled out all the questionnaires on this, that was in 2022.
Yes.
That was the year. Are these numbers 2022 numbers or have they been
Those
adjusted to
numbers-
2024?
Those numbers are 2022 numbers. So the adjustment to those would be the annual raises that were given to the unions.
Okay, so
That
if
is-
we implement this, then you'd be looking at union contract negotiations to raise from those, correct? Is that what I'm getting out of that? Because if these are 2022 numbers, we've already fallen behind.
Already gotten their 2%, so their wage,
These are way above 2%, like,
no, I'm talking, they got a salary now.
yeah,
And at the fiscal year, they've got another 2%.
yep,
Everybody got that.
yep.
So it should be basically on the same plane.
And anything that we do will start this October. We're not gonna retrograde it or start it back in October. This is something we're talking about starting this October. So we have now until then to do this.
Well, that is a decision that this board would have to make is when they would want to implement.
Now, I personally think it's embarrassing to me to think that I'm paying employees $3 less than it is to be working at a fast food restaurant.
McDonald's.
When I look at working for the county, when I came to work for the county, I was looking at a career. We talk about wanting to recruit our locals and I've sat in this room and we want to recruit our local people to be, to get our people who want to be in Gratiot County. They live here now, they want to stay in Gratiot County. So why would you work for Gratiot County if you can make $2.50 more an hour to get somebody's order wrong every time they go through the drive-through? When this is a job that you have to do, if you want this to be a career type employment, you want to do it the best you can so that hopefully not only do you look at going up the steps, but as we've seen several people, as there's a few department heads in this room right now, people who have advanced through to better jobs, they've bettered themselves. They went, I think I could do that job. And then there's an opening in the treasurer's office. And Terry's already familiar with that person. So they apply for it and they may get it because they are qualified. Maybe have talents you didn't even know they had because they're doing this other job. But that's what a career is all about. You want to stay here. You're a prime example. You worked for the county and then you became an elected official. Those are the stepping stones we want to see. happen in the county. So to me, I'm like, if this data is already 2 years old, I'm like, let's instill it now and we'll worry about giving him a raise October 1st, because he's gonna be doing contract negotiations. Otherwise, you're gonna be doing contract negotiations off of what numbers?
Okay.
You know, if we approve this, are you doing contract negotiations off of, you hear what I'm saying? Because we've already lost the 2023 raise if they got 2%, and the 2024 rate, well, I guess they wouldn't have gotten it till October 1st. So there's 2%. So if this data is 2 years old, and $15 should probably be higher than that if the data is 2 years old. You know what I mean? If we were to do this study all over again, and I know it's hard to get this stuff done, but it's 2024, it's not 2022. And with inflation and I mean, all you have to do is, I mean, you can go online and find other counties, the raises they're doing, that sort of thing. So I don't want us to wait even longer for our employees and potentially lose someone to leave to go somewhere else because they can make that much more money or not even apply. I want to get this so that our people we're attracting the best that we can. And I mean, government jobs have never been known to be the ones that you get rich quick. You don't go to work for the government. It's just like being a school teacher, working at school. That's a job where you're looking for a reliable, steady paycheck with a decent benefit package. That's what you get those jobs for. That's why you spend a career doing them, not to, this isn't a get rich quick. It's not a get rich quick for the sheriff. It's not a get rich quick for any elected official. This is a dedication thing. And I want to get the best we can that are dedicated to work here.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you, I'd like to know, I went through McDonald's probably about 6 months ago. And this lady, we got to talking and I said, how long have you worked here? She goes, well, I was only gonna do it for part-time. And she said, now I'm doing it 7 days a week because they can't get anybody to come. But they don't pay, what they do, they have a sign out front that says $14 an hour. She said, that's management. She said, they're not paying, once you get in here, they say you start off at maybe $12. But she says, I've been there for a year now. And she said, I'm still making almost $13. So a lot of that is to get you hired in. But also I'm telling you that everybody's got a problem hiring people. If they're paying that much, then why are businesses closing? And a lot of the businesses are closing down 2 days a week because they can't find anybody. And I went into a restaurant not too long ago and they had a young kid and a girl and a guy. And they go out, they take your order, they run back and they cook it for you. And they bring it to you. Then they clear off your table and go do the dishes and come back. And I said, don't you guys have any extra help? And they said, no, it's just the two of us, but more is coming in later today. But I'm just telling you that we think that everybody's getting $20 an hour and they're not. If that was the truth, then people wouldn't be quitting their jobs and even teachers are leaving.
Well, they're leaving, teachers aren't leaving because of money only.
That's another reason I know that.
Fortunately, we hired a firm to go out and find that other people are getting paid $20 an hour for these jobs. That's why.
Yes.
That's the idea of a comp study, is to find out.
Where do we sit in?
Right.
And we found out that some of them were really lacking. We got that data last time. Some of these are 25% underpaid. Quite frankly, I find that embarrassing. I find that embarrassing myself, that we have employees who dedicate their time and their effort to come and work for me, a county commissioner, and they're making 25% less than their comparables. That's embarrassing to me. We haven't done one of these. Has Gratiot County ever done one of these? Nobody even remembers. Okay, 96. So you're 20 years ago, 16 years
Wait a
between.
minute. I've been here 24 years and we've done many studies on payroll.
The last comprehensive study was done in 1996.
Not this time.
I'll bet you on that. I've got,
Comprehensive as in the whole staff.
yeah, we did do it.
This came out.
Oh, we did do it. I'll bring it into you because I came across it. What state did this go through? Was it? What state did we do our?
We did it, we did our comp study with counties in
No, but I
Michigan.
mean, what you had an outside state do this study, right?
Third party firm
It's
did.
Virginia?
Their headquarters was in Maryland, yes.
Okay. Okay, I wonder why we didn't do it in Michigan.
That was selected by the board, I'm not sure. Hmm, we're okay.
Move on. Not get anywhere.
No, I think that we need to do, I'm glad we did the study. I think we should raise wages. But I also think we need to lower our millages for the people who pay this money to the county. Because if you didn't have people living here and working and making and okay in millages, which now it's become harder for them because of the fact that our economy is not the best. And,
My
we need to-
constituents just want to be left alone. As far as government's concerned, their main thing is they want to be left alone, government.
We did a comprehensive study in all millages in 2022. And the board decided then that they were doing, we had everyone come in there, give us their financials, tell us what they were doing. And at the end of the day, this board decided not to take any money away from anybody that was getting a millage. 2022, wasn't that long ago. Just, that's all I got to say.
And those documents are still available.
Yes.
We reviewed on board.
well, we've been very lucky that our people have voted yes on millages. But I gotta tell you, it's gonna be an eye opener in the next few years. Because when they start hurting, they have to look for ways to cut back. And so I'm just telling you, that's what I'm hearing.
Well, I know money is an emotional issue, but I think it's time to move on.
I will work on a 5 and 10 year revenue forecast, and I will bring that to the board at their next meeting.
Thank you.
Is there anything else?
The only thing I think is we're getting the information. When we get that information, I want us to make a decision on this and be done talking about it. Number one, get our employees paid what they should be being paid. Because I hear from employees, the employees now, especially you've had your department head meetings, so they've heard this information. They take that back, that their job is to take that kind of information and inform their employees and what have you. So that's their job. And so I want to make sure that we keep the good employees we have. We have a lot of people here who have been dedicated to working for Gratiot County for lengthy periods of time. I want to keep those people here. I don't want them to start thinking about leaving here to go somewhere else because you're not ready to make that decision tonight. I like George's idea. I don't know how accurate a 10-year, 5-year, pretty good on, projections. 10 years are like you're talking about, you're dancing with the devil on 10 years. No one knows what.
I'm pushing it, but for a good reason.
Yes, I understand your reasoning. I'm just not sure how credible the information will ever be anyhow, because no one can predict the next pandemic or the stock market crash or a war or
I've
anything.
been long enough, so I'll probably be dead by that time anyways.
I hope not. I hope you're still telling us you're going to Chicago or Florida. So anyhow, I just want us, when we get this information, I want this board to make a decision and let's get our employees paid what they deserve to be paid and get going.
And I agree with that too.
I hate to admit it, but I agree with Steve. Yeah.
It's my birthday present from you, right?
Okay, let's move on to the OPEB, shouldn't it?
That didn't come in the finance report.
So typically I'll put the entire OPEB report in the packet, but this year it said it was confidential. I didn't know exactly what was confidential in it, so I just took a few excerpts out of there to support my little write-up on what it is. So for those that might not be familiar, years and years ago, we offered our employees post-employment benefits of healthcare, life insurance, and I think maybe one other item. But like pensions, places were not funding those, and they were big with accounting rules, people going bankrupt, GM, etc. Government is required to now pre-fund those. We have an actuary that does this report for us. And so this is just an update on where we stand from last year. Our total liability dropped from 2.8 million to 2.6 million. There's multiple reasons liabilities can drop. We have, the reason ours dropped is because we have an option where our former employees can opt out of getting healthcare and get a lump sum payment instead. A lot of them will enroll in Medicare or Medicare.
Advantage, and taking Medicare Advantage, which is sometimes free.
And then take the $3,000 payment instead of.
Exactly.
Of insurance.
Exactly.
So
If
the
they're-
majority of the ones that have retired in the past, that become eligible for this in the past year have opted into that payment. So we don't have the higher payment of insurance. Our unfunded liability dropped from 1 million to 440,000. Our funding percentage went up from 64 to 83%. Our total members dropped during the time. The program is closed, so our membership will never go up on this because nobody else will be able to join it. Page 2 is a snippet from the actual report to show, to back up the numbers that I planned. As of September 30th, when this report was done, we had 2,166,000 in our OPEB MERS account. So it's a positive update. Any questions?
Sure, we don't need a new air conditioner unit.
After
That was the one they just fixed.
If it's the generator, I was just kidding.
That's not
I
true.
don't think I've ever heard that.
Mid-State Health Network intergovernmental agreement.
Andy, do you have?
This was the first I saw, but
Okay.
do you know what it's about?
So, this is
It's for mental health. Gin belongs to that mid-state.
it's for substance.
It's for substance abuse.
So this is, the reason we put it on the agenda, is because when we make quarterly payments, a lot of times
People.
I'll get asked what this is about. So we put the actual contract in here so that,
We need motion or what do you want to do with that?
we can make a motion to have.
I'll make a motion to
Sign.
accept the mid-state contract.
Put it here and stuff inside.
Jan, are you on the health? board?
Mental health, me.
Not mental health.
I'm on mental health.
You're on the mental health?
Yes, yeah, I'm not on it. I used to.
Motion by George, supported by Steve to sign the intergovernmental agreement. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Consideration to appoint several people here.
Yes, so the Gratiot Integrated Health Network, this is a little bit easier than what it was in December because all of the positions that you have to appoint tonight, we've only had this exact number of applicants that applied. We don't have any extras, so we don't need to do a ballot style.
These need to be done, do these need to be done individually, or can they be done as a lump sum of all these people?
Whatever you.
I think you can. I think you could take for the Gratiot Integrated Health Network.
Yep.
That we reappoint or appoint, depending on the situation, everyone that's listed.
Those are all real.
They're all reappointment.
Every one of them's reappointment. That's why I wondered if we can do it that way. I think it's the.
Simple, quick,
All of them are all
yeah.
reappointments
So make a motion that we reappoint the reappointments.
for all the boards.
For that, for Gratiot Integrated Health System,
I support.
Yes.
Motion by George, supported by Tim to appoint 4 members for 3-year terms on the Gratiot Integrated Health Network Board. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
I can speak to this because I kind of know what's going on here. The board of, the next one, the Region 7, that is Commission on Aging's region that we work with. We're within Region 7. These 2 appointments are the people that are currently serving in those positions that are on our board. Okay, and they're reappointments. So there again, I would ask that we would reappoint those designated for the area agency 7.
Support.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Now, did you mean to have
The advisory board.
the advisory board also?
Yes, both of them.
Okay,
The both District 7, Board of Directors and the advisory board.
Yep.
motion carried as amended. Now, consideration to appoint a library county board member.
I do need to make one correction there, though. I did put down that it was a 3-year term on your agenda and it's a 5-year term. for Dean.
Well, this Dean Parley, Christ, he's 81 years old. Stretching it out there. He's gonna be older than Joe Biden for crying out loud. That's fine. In fact, I'll make a motion that we appoint him to the library board.
Support.
Motion by George, support by Steve to appoint George Barling to the
Dean Bartley, yep.
library board for a 5-year term. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Personally known him for years, so
Motion
keep
carried.
repeating that.
Is there any unfinished business? Did you care of the other one? Okay.
You want to have public comments before we go into the finance committee meeting? Then we
Anybody have?
won't be doing any business.
You dare leave here without taking a cupcake with you.
Okay, long as I'm on a roll, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we move into the finance committee to conduct business. And suspend this one.
By George, supported by Tim, to go into the finance meeting.
Need to take a
Yeah,
potty break.
Okay.
okay.
You guys can do it.
Well, we're gonna, that's why I always go to it 3 times before I come in here. All right. And this finance committee is not gonna take very long. Once you be ready.
Ready? Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you coming in.
We still have finance if you want to wait through finance.
Look at, they're all like.
We were 2.5 hours, I think I would.
Thank you.
Get home before it gets dark.
You can have another cupcake if you stay for finance. Yeah, maybe tomorrow.
Guys, hey.
Oh, my gosh.
I had called this morning, I had to get up and get over to. Now you want to have this meeting tonight, so. All right, I don't have anything going on, so I'll stop. Something else to ask you, and I was gonna, God, I've been busy this week, last week and this week, but. We had a bunch of them, resignations.
Teachers or aides?
No.
No, I guess I should say, it was really.
Oh.
But, there's a couple of teachers there too.
Where at? Which school?
I've been a teacher for, yeah,
Which school?
I'm not gonna tell you, because.
Okay.
Angie,
That's
just
I do know that
I've watched-
to get those appointments back because
Well, she had,
we're bugging one of the individuals.
Well-
Told me today, have you guys done this yet?
at the end of the year.
Why?
I said, oh, you mean,
Oh, they're waiting for
Sure.
paperwork. I said,
oh, she mean,
you got to the end of the month. What are they
was
worried
it?
about?
Well, you come back to the.
Good state, area, I mean, it's area
Done.
agency 7.
Yes, but they're.
Daughter Mary's going to be a teacher.
I know what?
It's.
Letters.
Their fairs.
I'm just-
She's
No, I-
done. She got a whole year.
I said, I'll make sure they go.
Wanting to offer her a job.
Got them all.
You're asking
I'm-
me if
Yeah.
I'm 18,
And then make
graduate.
constituents happy.
No, I don't want to.
I don't want to now.
Are you crazy? You would not. I was in a room today, there was 4 of us parapros for 1 month.
Ready when you are.
Okay, ready to go? Jim gets settled on his chair there.
What we talked
Well,
about.
finance meeting order.
Buckle your seatbelt.
Finance, buckle up, we're going. So, finance meeting, finance report.
We have not had any additional drain prepayments, so that's stayed at 41,000. We are getting to the digging season though, so we may see some that we may want to consider to approve. And I'll bring in interest rates too and such. ARP funds, we have earmarked our 7.9 million. We have distributed just over 6 million now. In February, we sent 68,000 for Ashley and Fulton projects. I have received a draft of the 2023 audit. I'm meeting with Yo and Yo tomorrow to go over it. It will be submitted to the state by Friday, so we will be
ARPA money or our audit?
our audit, which does include the ARPA money.
Oh, okay. But our audit is ready to go to the state?
It will be ready to go to the state by Friday. So,
That is
She become.
wonderful to hear.
yeah,
That's 2023.
that is correct.
Yep.
Good.
Not a relief to get that done and all.
Very good.
My OPEB balance has blanked out on me. Let's see if I can.
Change since our last report, which is 30 minutes ago.
Unfortunately, what I showed you was September 30th.
Oh,
Right here somewhere. 2.36 million, so that is about 200,000 higher than where we were at September 30th. So we're getting even closer to being fully funded for that. We'll go ahead and move over to the cash balances. General fund looking at about 7.8 million, COVID 2.1 million. So we still have about 1.9 million to distribute. The remainder of that is interest, which we think used for our own projects. Delinquent tax fund, just under 7.6, and they'll be getting ready to do settlement here shortly.
Just a minute.
Mhm.
You said, how much did you say, 7?
For which fund?
You said delinquent tax?
Delinquent tax fund,
Yeah. How much was that?
7.5 million.
Okay, yeah, I thought you said something else. Sorry.
I'm on 7.6.
Almost, yeah.
Big numbers.
Is that a tax fund or is that the one that's in, the treasurer's office?
That is the one that the treasurer maintains.
Okay. So it's really not our money.
No, well, I mean, it's the county's money, but it is a fund that the treasurer has many financial requirements that it uses to operate the treasurer's office.
And what do you think is gonna happen to that COVID-19 fund? Do you think we're gonna ever have to give that back?
No, absolutely not. No, we've already committed all of those funds. So we just need to make sure that the projects get completed before 2026, before the end of 2026.
Okay, check register.
I'll give you a few minutes to look at the check register. George sent me a couple questions, so I'm gonna go over those real quick. Chuck Murphy, $62.06. He was on the board of Canvas and that was his per diem. We had multiple payments to Point Broadband. $75, that was for MSU extension, their internet. $90, that's for the Parks and Rec internet. $690, that includes dispatch and their fiber connections at Ithaca, Parrington, and Sumner. Thank you for sending me those.
Well, I just-
It helps when I can.
Sometimes when I see something and I'm not.
Catches your eye.
It doesn't have to be big dollars, it just has to be what's,
So,
Catherine Bollinger, I know she's a lawyer. 45,600.
Yeah, funny thing is right before this meeting, Dave came into my office and asked the exact same thing about the exact same expenditure. But yeah, she does work for the Indigent Defense Office, and Dave and I looked up that very specific bill. And it was reimbursement for approximately 25 different cases that she had worked on, that she submitted all at once.
can't we put something in, probably the state, you can't, but.
Cause their fee is,
There ought to be a 3-month anyway.
their fee is all set by the state of Michigan. We have no control
I know.
over what they get.
But it's hard to audit things like that. Because, you don't show up for a year and you want to be paid.
North.
It's hard to audit that.
1,000,
That's when you're in.
Trust lawyers there.
what?
What is this one for?
It's one of the health insurance arms.
Gratiot Emergency Service.
Bolton Township, 34,000.
What is the Gratiot Emergency
That was-
Services Authority?
Or
Do
what?
you do that transfer for, is that?
Used to do for the REST. We just take it
It's
as current tax and then we give it to GASA.
It's the new fire district, right?
Gratiot,
Gratiot.
Yes.
Community,
So we collect the village and distribute it to them.
that's right, exactly.
That was never even, that was not our funding to begin with. We just collected it from the townships.
Any other questions on the bill or on the check register?
No.
How about revenue expenditure report? That's usually cut and dried, just ins and outs. What you just saw.
We had a beginning balance of 2,309,539, and an ending balance of 2,000. Or 2,361,000. So we ended up with more money.
that's
the way to do it.
That's good.
That's good, yeah.
I know this is a little bit out of order, but I did provide a new ARPA project list
Oh, yeah, I saw.
about what projects still were outstanding. And I just want to point out that I have talked to a few of the bigger projects. I talked to Bill Cody from St. Louis Fire, and they're getting their fire truck within the next month, so that payment will be going out shortly. I spoke with Matt Bupp from Road Commission, and they have their new generator in, they just haven't been billed for it yet, so there's a few projects here that are linked that they're
spending the money, and they just haven't got a couple of the paperwork yet.
yeah. So,
Good.
Seville. They wanted to build some kind of building, but they didn't have enough money to build the end of it for.
For a fire barn.
about fire barn.
Are they gonna add on to, are they gonna build right where
I
the?
wouldn't build a fire barn unless Elmo participated in it. That wasn't gonna happen.
They sell what they've got, and make some money there too.
They're gonna have to pay to take it down.
Oh, we're all set. Let's go on and get the treasurer up here.
Treasurer's report.
Did they find a contractor to,
I think they have,
because the last I knew, they couldn't find anybody. to do the work.
How does our investments look this month?
They
Terry,
are sustaining, George. They're in good shape.
any wiggling from the bank? It looked like there's
No, there was a
steady
couple
so far.
stitches down last time, but that hasn't moved again since last month. So the ones that I reported last month. So no, they're remaining steady. So
And we started collecting this back in what, May?
May, yes.
So it'd be nice to know at May, the total figure of what we've been able to.
Yep, I have been monitoring that and keeping track every month, so I'll be able to let you know that.
It's gonna be close to $1 million in interest.
Yep, I dare say that you're probably right there in the ball.
Well, you just look at the figures.
Yep, yeah, so,
So anyway, I just want to say kudos to the Treasury Department for getting us all lined up there,
thank you.
making my job a lot easier, I'll tell you that.
I
Okay.
appreciate that. Appreciate it. My receipt distribution, I do the opposite of what Chris does. I bring it in, he pushes it out. So this report reflects those numbers. They just go into the different line items that they are required for us to receipt them into.
So no one's tax settlement.
We have started tax settlement
Tax settlement.
and it's going very well. We just have to wait. The municipalities and the townships have until the end of March to actually get us their final database.
Do you have a rough idea how the tax season went? Is it above normal, below normal, about normal?
Right now, it looks like it's about normal, but I've still got a few that need to come in. I've got the city of Alma that's in, I've got the city of Ithaca and St. Louis. So those are the bigger ones. So those look pretty much on track.
Okay.
Do land values go up, like the assessor assesses houses and property?
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
that goes
Oh,
up.
that's a Keegan question, but
Yep.
yeah.
Keegan was in front of you to ask, to vote on that number and that information.
Terry, is that the fourth time that that's gone up 5%? The
What's that?
taxes, our taxes, property tax.
No, no.
Huh?
It's only the second.
Oh, I thought every year. it's-
Oh, no, we've always rolled them back.
Right,
We roll back. Normally, we roll back taxes
yep.
every year.
Yeah, they go up 7, but they roll it back to 5.
Well,
No,
we cap it at 5 because Hadley, yeah.
we've kept it at 4 point, I can't remember. It's under 5. It's under 5.
Sorry, it's your birthday.
We've been pretty good for many, many years.
Many years, yes.
At least 10 years at that. No, terrible. I can't remember. It's 4.7, whatever it is.
You're right,
People tell me
24
that there's
to
a
the
going up
50.
every year 5%.
No,
That is-
Talking about
that is untrue. That is untrue.
set by the state, isn't it?
The equalization comes, the equalization value, that's set by the state of Michigan.
They tell us what we have to do,
Yes,
because
And that's what I mean. That's
Your taxes are, you feel like they're going up because like everything else, everything's rising.
it's all goes on the values. If the state tells us we have to raise the values of assessed and taxable value by 5%, that's why their taxes are going up.
Mhm.
They're paying on more money because their property is supposedly worth.
Or-
In actuality, their taxes are going up, but it's because
Yeah.
like this
That's what
year,
they're- yeah.
this is the second year in a row the state did 5%. During the pandemic, there was some dip backwards, but
Or if they've
think
purchased new property.
is that
on a-
the limit?
They've just gone through.
That's the cap. They can't do any more than 5%.
Board of determination. Haven't they've just had their board of determinations and I think all the townships had them and the
Washington's is coming up at the end of,
the ones I've been to, they have, 2 of them didn't have anybody show up
Hmm.
and one had one show up. And
I was third in line.
looking at each other going, well, nobody. So,
That go up.
when you say people are complaining, the people that make a lot of money, like farmers, they complain all the time, but they're not in on board of determination complaining about their taxes.
Mhm.
They're not. So. And they've been very happy.
Complains to me.
Farmers every day. They're very happy with what we've been able to do with what we got.
Good.
Never bought a farm from an estate that some attorney didn't fill out a PA 260, they'd be screaming.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's the way it is. That's business.
So anyway, I would like to also agree with Chris. If anybody has questions and they know ahead of time, it's great if you contact us so that we have a minute to find out the answers, so they don't get asked to us at the board meeting. And then we have to say, you know what, that's a good question. Let me get back to you on that, because we haven't had any time to research it. So we really do appreciate that when that happens.
So we've we went through the agenda. So I think we're done.
Does anybody have any questions?
Okay,
Thank you, and
Thank
happy
you.
birthday, Dave.
Thank you.
okay, I'll make a motion to go back into the regular board meeting with the purpose of paying the bills.
Support. Oh, Tim.
Motion by George, second by Tim to go back into the meeting for purpose of paying the bills. Pay the bills.
I so move that we pay the bills.
Hey, Steve, seconded by Tim, that we pay the bills. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Technically, you all just did that.
Yeah.
When I say purposely, for going back to the purpose of paying the bills,
Yep.
you all voted for it. You actually all voted to pay the bills.
That's okay. I'm gonna put it in there
But
twice.
I just want to make sure everybody, some people, didn't understand what that's all about, but
Well, I motion for adjournment.
I'll motion, I'll support that one. Let's get out of here.
Motion by Tim, supported by George to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
I mean,
Opposed, nay.
Well, this is so good.
We're out of here.
right.
Yeah.